The day of the quarterfinals finally arrived and Khan departed to Zelda, the second richest district of the capital and the named Caboge where the first and opening match of the new round will be held. For now, no one had tried to contact or pressure him regarding the competition as if some invisible force had been barring the enemies. In actuality, it was all the efforts made by Khan and his generals who had been creating the image of the underdog and a dark horse in the minds of the general populace of the capital. And with the quarterfinals being broadcast throughout the empire, Khan even had a bigger opportunity to make his name well known. Because the incident of the previous round had already made him realize that if he isn't in the limelight, he was easy to be cut off by anyone with substantial influence and power. And he wanted to avoid the scenario where some saint had put him in the ground again. So other than using the public as his form of defense, Khan had no choice but to attract the whole empire's eyes on him at this point. Doing this also ensured that his life would be secured and no power would try to target or kill him for some time and if he qualified for further stages. The battle arena that held today's match was 3 times bigger in terms of size, audience capacity, and the number of floors. Even the security guards here were at least beginner rank fighters. Khan felt like suddenly he entered an intergalactic tournament where he would have to fight gigantic aliens. Even the battlefield itself was 1 kilometer in radius, indicating the scale of this competition was going to be on a completely different scale. At this point, even a single seat cost 10,000 gold coins, yet the entire Colosseum-style arena was full of people cheering for their respective fighters. This time, Khan had ordered all of their members from 7 deadly sins to be present from here on. He spent a few $100 million just for their attires, traveling expenses and creating a fake background that'd make the organization members look like local rich tycoons and help them properly blend in with the crowd. All of them were given space rings where at least 100 million gold coins were kept that they'd have to use while betting on a candidate as per the orders. Khan was looking at considerable gains here as well, because he wasn't a fool to think that his story and recent fame was enough to completely sway people towards him and make them bet their fortunes on him. For now, they were only intrigued by him but not fully aware of his capabilities or the true rank. So being the greedy and shameless man he was, Khan only waited for the odds to be revealed. After the commencement speech by the hosts and announcers, a cultural dance and singing act was put on similar to the opening of the Olympics on Earth. When the winning odds for the betting were revealed, it was 70-30 on the scoreboards. And an hour was offered to the audience in the arena and people watching throughout the empire to place their bets and register their amount on the official booths. Just as he expected. The Michelson clan was indeed very powerful and influential to affect the odds by this much despite Khan's attempt to increase his popularity among the masses. Just the name Michelson was more than enough to blindly trust and choose the opponent over him without a second thought. Go all the way in, commanded Khan to his people. And finally, from 2 different corners of the battle ring, walked today's talented combatants of the young generation who were escorted by 2 squads of soldiers. Khan had already hidden his rank and stats to match that of a peak Grandmaster swordsman since many saints in VIP rooms would be watching today's match, so he came fully prepared. All the top influential forces in the empire had sent their important figures such as commanding officers, heirs and some top-rank saints despite this match being only the beginning of the quarterfinals. So even Khan felt like things were getting real at this point. As soon as both the parties at the center of the ring, both clad in their fighting gears and weapons, the announcer stood in between the young swordsman donned in black and golden long coat with a black giant's word on his back and the redhead swordsman with a white and black attire who had a Navy Force-style cap and a rapier sheathed on her waist. In front of me stand both of today's combatants. So for all of our audience sitting in the arena and all the viewers watching throughout the Rocco's Empire, I want to ask both of today's fighters a question. Asked the middle-aged elven MC. Who do you think will win? He asked and moved his mic towards Veronica. Veronica folded her arms and looked at Khan, who was taller than her. She gave him a thoughtful look and spoke in a soft tone. I think I will, declared Veronica without any hesitation. And why do you think so? Asked the MC curiously. Because my opponent isn't very skilled and his fighting style is crude. It is very clear that he didn't have any proper training from a skilled teacher either. And during his previous match, He threw away his sword to beat the opponent with bare hands. It shows that he doesn't respect his sword as a warrior either. And I will never lose to someone unskilled like him, spoke Veronica in a prideful tone. It wasn't that she was being high on her horses. Rather, she spoke with facts because that was the real truth for Khan. And her being a proper and honest warrior herself, she spoke her mind without holding back. Gasp! Millions of people who were watching the live broadcast gasped throughout the empire at the same time. Although she was being honest, her tone was misunderstood as her looking down and insulting her opponent. "Mr. Khan, what would you like to say in response?" asked the MC to Khan. Khan slightly leaned towards the mic and spoke in a polite tone with a slight smirk on his face. "Arrogance destroys the footholds of victory." Shock! Gasp! Boaha! A billion people collectively gasped and also screamed out of surprise throughout the empire. Just with one line. Khan roasted Veronica publicly. Calling her arrogant also implied that she thought too highly of herself and her ignorance would be her downfall. Not just Veronica but even the Michelson clan members who came in a few hundred thousands to support her were infuriated after Khan's response. Pissed. Veronica was thoroughly pissed off. She tried to talk like a professional, but her opponent acted like an immature man-child who insulted her instead. He had no sense of professional courtesy or any humbleness. Humph. Let's see if he really has the strength to back his claims. Spoke Isaac, who was in one of the VIP rooms along with Veronica's father, who was a fourth-stage saint and also his second uncle. But unlike him, her father has no impulsive reaction or spoke a word, as he kept looking at Khan as if trying to see through him. "That young man. There's something different about him," he spoke in a solemn tone. Not only him but dozens of saints who had come to represent their respective forces and watch this match also had their gazes locked at Khan for some reason. On the battle ring, Veronica clenched her fist tightly as an exasperated expression appeared on her face. "Big claims for a man who's about to lose," spoke Veronica with a hateful expression. "Unlike you, I don't have the habit of daydreaming," replied Khan and went back to his corner of the ring while folding both of his arms behind his back. "Ding, ding, ding. Begin the match," announced a thrall referee, and the match officially started. Veronica took her thin and mid-sized rapier with golden hilt while Khan on the other brandished Lucifer. Both of the combatants took their attacking stance and waited for the opponent to make the first move. Boom! A burst of brown aura released from Veronica's body as she released her peak Grandmaster rank strength. Khan could already guess that Veronica was only lacking in fewer levels than him, so he too decided to not hold back. Boom! A loud boom resounded in the ring as Khan revealed his strength and rank with a release of black and red aura. War dominance. He quickly activated this skill and put intense pressure on the opponent right from the start. "In my eyes, trash like you will never be a true swordsman," spoke Veronica from the other end. To her words, Khan gave a playful smile as he spoke in a tyrannical voice. "Winners do not care about the opinions of the losers." Stunned. The entire arena was stunned, and so were the people watching this match throughout the empire. From his proclamation, Khan implied that he'd easily win the match without any worries. "This insolent bastard," murmured Veronica under her breath, and her eyes were fired up the very next second. Squirm! Squirm! The brown aura leaked from her body squirmed, and soon, multiple strands of this aura that was spread around her end of the battlefield started coalescing, and soon, 20 giant rapier swords made of highly condensed aura and mana together formed in the air. For groups of elemental swords, each having 5 of them and varying from fire, water, wind, and light elements, floated in the air above. Each of these massive rapier swords was 5 meters long and 1 meter in width. Each one of them exuded intense heat, pressure, speed, and destructive force, respectively. All the people watching this match were able to infer that the mana structure and control behind these swords were extremely precise, and the mastery of the user over these elements was top-notch quality. Many saints spread throughout the arena also watched from their respective rooms and nodded in approval. As expected from the daughter of the #1 swordsman of the empire, her mana control and aura combination with her skills is already at such a high degree. And normally, Any Grandmaster individual can use 1 to 2 elements fused in their skills. Yet she has created 4 different elemental swords at once. Like the rumors claimed, she has indeed unlocked a unique rank class we know as the Magic Swordsman. Spoke the MC as if it was his own daughter fighting in the ring. Even the majority of the audience was awestruck and nodded in agreement. Sigh. What a show-off. Even Omega has better skills and attacking capabilities than her. Thought Khan, and his black and red aura erupted intensely as he too decided to reveal his skills in front of all the audience. Swoosh. Clatter. Clink. Khan's aura also spread widely, and he created 20 giant swords of his own that matched the same attributes of the aura swords created by the opponent. Sword Savant. Khan used the skill he got by absorbing skills and eating Arkham, the peak Grandmaster Magic Swordsman's core. This was an S-rank ability and also the same level of skill he compared to the one displayed by the opponent. Flabbergasted. Not just the normal audience but even seasoned warriors and saints were flabbergasted after this revelation. Millions of gasps were heard as Khan also revealed this skill, indicating that he too was a magic swordsman. Although Khan couldn't use the Sword King skill as of now, because it was a semi-saint skill that he created by merging Sword Lord and Sword Savant skills he got from Dormammu Volstav va Arkham Holland respectively, he could at least use this skill for now. Because Sword King's skill could help him create 100 aura swords already, and even Ismaetrzel Mor Vandereyck, a 4th stage Saint Swordsman, had claimed it to be a Saint rank skill based on its potential alone. So Khan did not want to reveal his hand quickly as it would affect his odds in the next match and the money he'd lose will be in the hundreds of trillions. Impossible! Exclaimed Veronica in disbelief. The only thing she was proud of in her life that also played a big part in her rise in strength and rank as a swordswoman till this point was also something shared by her opponent. In the whole Rocco's empire, there were only 70 magic swordsmen, and even among them, there wasn't a single person who unlocked this unique rank class under the age of 30. Even her father, who was labeled as the #1 swordsman of the empire, unlocked this profession at the age of 35, while she was only 25 years old. Her talent was already only second to her cousin in their clan, but no one matched her as far as a sword was concerned. Yet the no-name opponent she declared as an unskilled and unrefined fighter also happened to have unlocked this class as well. This completely thwarted her notions of reality, as she was no longer the only magic swordswoman of the younger generation. You said I'm unskilled and that's why I'll lose, right? Then show me your true skills then. I'll let you have the first hand and only defend for the next 10 minutes. If you can defend me in that time frame, I'll admit my loss. Spoke Khan as he openly challenged and provoked Veronica. Silence. The arena was filled with silence again. This guy, is he not afraid of the Michelson clan? Saying that he'll only defend against her attacks means he's seriously looking down on her pride as a warrior. Spoke a demonkin mage saint from the demi-human faction. Ah! This young man is too presumptuous. Does he not know who trained this girl? She was holding a sword in her hands before she was even 5 years old. Spoke a mage saint from the Michelson clan. At this moment, Veronica was thoroughly infuriated. After every exchange since they entered the battle ring, all Khan had done was undermine, challenge, and now even saying that he'll only defend against her attacks. His remarks were something she had never been subjected to even from her father. Yet this pretentious bastard was acting as if she wasn't even qualified to fight on even terms with him. Little did anyone know that Khan was doing this to furnish his rusty swordsmanship skills and use this opportunity to raise their effectiveness and mastery to a whole degree. Because even now, his skills were only at peak Grandmaster rank and he wanted to break through to Saint rank in sword weapon. Besides, the best way to gauge an enemy's strength was to let them attack you first and then analyze their moves and patterns. Because randomly swinging a sword against a truly skilled fighter only worked in novels and mangas. You! Fine then. Don't say later that I didn't give you a chance to fight equally. Spoke Veronica, and the very next second, his image flickered from 200 meters away and appeared in a 150 meters radius on Khan's left side. But before he could focus or see through her direction, her physique vanished into thin air and she came 100 meters close in the next second. Khan already had survival instinct blessing and hunter's intent skill activated, so he could feel Veronica's killing intent locked on him. It was also the reason his mind could at least detect her direction. If not, he wouldn't be able to detect her presence at all. Swing. The next moment, Khan quickly turned on his backside and swung Lucifer. Clang. Spark. Before the audience could even register her, Veronica quickly appeared behind Khan's back, and now both their swords clashed against each other as sparks flew between their weapons. Not bad. You can at least sense me, she said, and her body flashed again. But at this same time, her giant mana swords also flew swiftly and attacked in Khan's direction. Bang! Shrill! Boom! Khan's own swords also attacked and clashed against those swords because he already sensed their movements. At this exact moment, all of his sensing skills were activated, including the sonar resonance skill, heat sense, hunter's intent, and survival instinct. But because he had limited his stats and rank to match the opponent, even Khan was having a hard time completely detecting her. Shing! He sidestepped and parried a thrust made towards his chest as Veronica's figure appeared and flickered the next moment. Afterimages after afterimages appeared and disappeared as Khan kept on defending, evading and parrying the sudden sword thrusts, slashes, and swings. System, how's the progress? Asked Khan. The combat technique's mastery for defensive and parrying skills has improved. Current progress, 84%, replied the system in its usual lifeless and robotic voice. Good, thought Khan. This was also a test for him to properly face a more skilled enemy on the same level, because he always couldn't rely on his levels and rank as a semi-saint. So by using the weapon mastery and combat techniques mastery blessings given by Kravel, the war deity, Khan planned to increase his proficiency in these skills and techniques while facing a true genius like Veronica. As of now, she was as fast as a bullet, and if not for his various life-saving and sensory skills, he'd have been pierced in the heart already. At this moment, inside the VIP room of the Michelson clan, 10 individuals were watching the match, 3 of whom were the close family to the sword maiden fighting in the battle ring. Isaac Michelson, the beginner-rank Grandmaster Knight who was also Veronica's cousin, was seated behind his uncle and his other cousin. This guy has really dug his own grave by pissing her off. Look how he's barely avoiding her attacks at the last moment. I guess he didn't know that her prestige isn't just because of her heritage or her family background, but mainly because of her skills and speed. After all, her title is, spoke Isaac as he gazed at Khan's struggling figure and continued with a confident smile, the Flash Goddess. The battle between the two peak Grandmaster sword users continued. The lithe rapier user swordswoman against the tall and ripped great sword user swordsman continued as the sound of their metallic swords clashing against each other filled the battle arena. Khan, who was on the receiving end of the swift and lethal stab, thrust, pincer, and slashing attacks, was successfully evading these attacks. To most of the audience, Khan looked like a clown barely managing to back his words and saving his ass in the nick of time. Although he said that he'd only defend for the first 10 minutes, people expected him to hold his ground like a seasoned warrior and easily overpower his opponent like a boss. But the scene in front of them was the opposite, because at this moment, Khan was running, dodging, and rolling sideways as if a headless chicken was frantically running around. However, only experts such as old swordsmen and many saints were able to notice what was happening in reality. Inside the Michelson clan's VIP room, Veronica's father, Stronov Michelson, who was titled as the number of swordsmen of the whole Rocco's empire, had his eyes wide open. What kind of freak is he? Spoke Stronov in his majestic and domineering voice. Huh? What do you mean, second uncle? Asked Isaac. The middle-aged man with short gray hair and a subtle beard, who was donned in a violet epic rank armor set, spoke in a stern tone. You're a knight, so you won't notice this. My daughter specializes in a lightweight sword, and her physique is suited for less powerful but fast attacks, so she seems at an advantage to normal people. But look at her opponent. Spoke the fourth stage saint. What of him? He barely seems to be holding his end, said Isaac. And this is why you still haven't become a peak Grandmaster yet, said Stronov as he gave an annoyed look to Isaac. He looks like he's only defending, but in reality, His footwork is improving and he's lowering the number of openings for Veronica to attack. And while doing so, he's also directing her next attack with his greatsword by pushing her in a particular direction as he's parrying her sword or evading her strikes. He's not a weakling who's only good at running. He's actually dictating the flow of her attacks. Said the fourth stage saint who was on the same level as the clan leader of the Vanderite clan but was a better swordsman. How? I don't see any difference. Spoke Isaac. Sigh. Suddenly, a light sigh was heard in the room and the raven-haired young woman who sat across Stronov spoke in a serious tone while he evaluated the ongoing battle. Look at the next strike Veronica makes, and then you'll know, she said as her deep blue eyes focused on the battle ring. Shing! Khan quickly covered his left side and a slashing attack was blocked and Veronica's slim figure suddenly appeared on the projection screens. Getting better, said Khan and stepped back as he waved the sharp blade of the greatsword, pushed away Veronica and took another defensive stance. Veronica slightly lost her footing as her body was already in momentum, but then quickly recovered it and made another attack towards Khan's figure. Boom! Khan used side hopper and dodged one of the 5-meter long fire elemental aura swords that belonged to his opponent. Now do you see it? Asked Stronov. Yes, I do, said Isaac as his brain finally registered what was happening. When Khan blocked the attack on his left side, his moving swing pushed back Veronica, who was in motion and had aimed for Khan's chest. After he pushed her by 30 degrees left, her balance slightly went off the mark and in the meantime, Khan only took 2 steps back and quickly took a defensive stance. Veronica, who was shoved away, saw the close distance between her and the opponent as well as his defensive stance, ended up taking another swing at him subconsciously rather than looking for another opening or creating one for the next attack. She only saw Khan, who was challenging her with that stance, and ended up attacking him anyway. To normal people it looked like he was only defending, but for truly skilled and experienced people, they could see the mind games Khan was playing. Her attacks need speed and momentum to be precise and lethal, yet he's not only defending against them, he's also making her move excessively and breaking her form bit by bit. At this rate, she will lose her flow and get tired out in just 5 more minutes. For what reason? I don't know. But that young man, said Stronov as his tone turned serious. He's the one truly in control of this battlefield, he said in a grim tone. In the ongoing battle, Khan actually had many skills to take her down, but it will reveal his identity because those skills belong to different classes, and also Khan using darkness or dark magic element skills would expose him. 10 minutes had already passed some time ago, yet Khan was insistently still kept defending. Whoa. She lives up to her reputation. Too fast, precise and lethal as she uses those flash steps. Looks like Yoruchi got a competition, thought Khan. System, how much? Asked Khan. The host has completed proficiency in all evasion, parrying and movement skills. Current progress 100%, responded the system. Good. Now let's move to the next step, he thought. Aura Blade Tornado, exclaimed Veronica, and a swirling attack made of dozens of different elemental aura swords were launched like a storm from her next swing. Shroom. Clatter. Shred. The next moment, however, instead of evading the attack, Khan stood right on the spot and took the strike. Boom! A loud noise resounded in the battle arena as Khan, who looked like he no longer had the strength to run away or defend, finally got hit by Veronica's attacks. A dust cloud formed as the arena floor was shredded by the female swordswoman's powerful attack, and Khan's figure was nowhere to be seen. A coy voice resounded in the battle ring as Khan's figure appeared out of the dust cloud. His long coat was shredded from the opponent's attack and soon dropped on the ground. A half-naked man whose ripped upper body with 6-pack abs and visible muscles was exposed to the public of the Empire. My, aren't you a hasty one? If you liked me that much, we could have waited till the match was over. There's no need to take off my clothes in public, said Khan as he gave a devilish smirk to the female opponent. However, the next second, another remark came from his mouth that shook Veronica's core as soon as she heard the words from her opponent. Let me win the match and I will give you a private show. After Khan's long coat fell off and his ripped abs, broad shoulders, strong forearms, Manly chest along with pure muscles were displayed to the entire empire on the projection screens. The young swordsman's manly figure gave everyone a big surprise. Because even for someone of his age, he was extremely well built and his body proportions were well balanced. "Let me win the match and I will give you a private show," said Khan as he winked at the young woman. Stunned. Veronica was stunned. In front of billions of people. Khan was openly making lascivious comments in an ongoing battle, with half of his body exposed at that. What a shameless bastard. Oye. The kids are watching. You shameless bastard. How dare he talk to a woman like that? Shouted millions of men in a disapproving tone. Millions of self-proclaimed noble and honorable males of different species and races along with the feminazis criticized Khan for his words. However, the females varying from species to species among the audience and the ones watching on broadcasting screens had a flustered face at this moment. "Sister, I think I just fell in love," spoke a young demonkin girl. "So charming. I want to be his girlfriend," said a beautiful elven girl. "Look at those abs and muscles. I want him," spoke an old noblewoman in one of the VIP rooms. "Kaya, marry me, Sir Khan," screamed a teenage girl. "Become my man. I'll be your slave," a woman in her mid-30s shouted in excitement. Contrary to other people's opinions, the ladies' gang had a different perspective as millions of them lusted after Khan's body together. Khan was doing a shameless fan service for his female fans. Why are my audience full of perverts? Khan wondered and sighed. Author. Same buddy. I wonder the same. Veronica also recovered her flustered expression, and then her eyes also turned hateful towards Khan again. Because from the beginning till now, he really hadn't treated her as an equal. Rather made banters, looked down on her and now made sleazy remarks in front of the public. Not just her but most of the Michelson clan members were also infuriated at this point. Instead of fighting like an honorable warrior with his skills and strength, Khan acted like a local thug who even harassed women openly. Completely opposite of what one would expect from a young and talented genius who became a peak grandmaster at such a young age. Commoner trash will always be commoner trash. He has no nobility in his conduct, spoke Isaac in the VIP room. However, Stronov had a different opinion as he spoke in a stern and deep voice. The powerful do not need to put up a pretense in front of others, and neither do they care. And this guy, he's good at getting inside his enemy's head. From the first words he spoke till now. He's making my daughter lose her composure, spoke Stronov as if he was not worried about his daughter in the battle ring. I just hope she can see through his antics and not get led by the nose, because so far, he hasn't even attacked her properly, so we shouldn't look down on him. Spoke the #1 swordsman of the Empire as he keenly paid attention to the match. Khan, who was currently engaged in a fierce battle with Veronica, had a calm mind despite being pushed around by the young swordswoman. Just like her father said, it was Khan's plan from the beginning. He wasn't a shining white knight who cared about public opinion or wanted to make a good impression on the audience. The more people hated him, the better, because that way he'd get filthy rich as the betting odds would be against him. Clang, clang. Veronica's feet stumbled as Khan shoved her again. Hey rascal, why don't you attack me as well? The 10 minutes have passed already, so stop hiding and fight like a man, said Veronica. But I'm scared of hurting such a pretty and delicate girl like you. What kind of man I would be if I hit such a beauty? He replied in a prideful and noble tone. This bastard, cursed Veronica, and next moment, her body leaked a deathly aura that quickly filled the battle ring. And just in 10 seconds, her aura coalesced together, and now in front of the entire audience and Khan stood 5 Veronica identical to each other. I guess she isn't just a talk. Her speed is so fast that she can create identical copies and afterimages to this degree. I've really struck gold, thought Khan as a sinister smile appeared on his face. You have successfully angered me. Don't think I'll go easy on you from now, shouted Veronica, and in a flash, all her copies also disappeared from the spot. Fine then. I guess I'll stop playing around, replied Khan, and then the next moment he too disappeared from his spot. Clang, 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 swoosh, bang. Before the audience could even register anything, sudden outbursts of loud sword strikes and then flickers of sparks filled the battlefield, and the most terrifying part was that even the audience or the projection screens could barely see white and black flashes clashing against each other in microseconds and then appeared at a different spot. Khan had finally activated all of his speed, attack and strength-enhancing abilities, and currently, he was just as fast as Veronica. He evenly matched her speed and agility, while their attacks filled the entire battlefield with shockwaves and sparks of swords clashing. Boom! Veronica's aura swords that were hovering in the air attacked the ground, and loud explosions of fire, water, wind, and lightning strikes shook the battlefield with their multicolored bursts. You arrogant bastard! I'll crush down that fake pride of yours, spoke Veronica as her figure appeared on the other end of the ring. Khan suddenly appeared on the other end with a grin on his face, and finally, he too started commanding his aura blades to attack the agile opponent. You see, the difference between you and me isn't just about levels or our combat techniques, he said with a tyrannical voice and gave a death stare to the opponent as if he finally had enough of entertaining her, and spoke in a grim tone. The fact that you consider yourself as an equal to me is being arrogant in itself. Khan made another proclamation against his opponent, but this time, there was something fundamentally different about his tone at this point. Even Veronica felt a sense of dread as she looked into his eyes. What's happening? She spoke softly as her body felt a bit slow compared to before. Till this point, Khan was only on the defensive mode as he wanted to increase his proficiency in his evasion, parrying, and defensive skills and abilities. But now that they had reached 100% after constantly challenging his limits and defending against Veronica's unparalleled skills and attacks, Khan had completed his first objective for the match. And now, he had no reason to play along with the girl anymore. Khan took a deep sigh as his menacing black and red aura burst out of the body that quickly suppressed the brown aura released by the female swordswoman. His eyes turned that of a tyrant looking down upon a weakling. If this is the extent of your skills, then your blade shall never reach me, he said. Boom! Khan activated the Draconian Bloodline effect, and the next second, he activated all of his speed-enhancing and attack buff skills that made him twice stronger in terms of physical strength, attributes, and skills damage output. Till now, he was only using Veronica as a sparring partner and not as an opponent, although he admired her skills and talent. There was nothing he cared about the opponent herself. Come. Let me show you what a real battle looks like, said Khan as he created 30 blades out of his aura and mana fused together. Unlike before, these swords shone brightly and released an oppressive aura themselves. No longer just simple aura blades. Khan walked menacingly towards the fear-stricken Veronica, who was currently under the effect of his bloodlust skill that any enemy weaker than him in a fearful state. Khan's body suddenly appeared right in front of Veronica, and he made a swift vertical slash with both hands holding Lucifer. Clang! Veronica was pushed 10 meters away after barely defending against that strike at the last moment. How did he become so fast? She asked herself in disbelief, but quickly recovered her composure. She used her clone skills, and 4 more of her identical copies appeared around her. And in front of all the onlookers, 5 Veronica disappeared from the spot. Swoosh! Veronica appeared right behind Khan and made a thrusting attack towards his back, but the next second, instead of acting alarmed or evading, Khan simply moved his upper body slightly and the blade passed by his chest. But before she could retract the sword, Khan's left hand quickly grabbed her neck. Bang! He quickly swung Lucifer horizontally on his right side, and another Veronica appeared. Crack! His left palm cracked the opponent's neck, and soon, the Veronica he had choked burst into thin air. I guess that's the downside of this skill. The copies don't even possess the 20% of her original strength. He spoke and ducked down as another slash was evaded on his back. Khan's aura blades were still fighting against the ones from the opponent, but this time, they too had an upper hand since Khan wasn't hiding his attack buff skills. Stab! Khan quickly stabbed Veronica in the back, and Lucifer released a burst of fire that burned down this imitation as well. Then he quickly lunged towards the one on the right, and with a heavy vertical slash attack, he cut the opponent in half. Another burst of mana appeared and then faded as Khan took down 3 of her copies in just 20 seconds. So they're just for intimidation and distracting the enemy. A good skill to confuse and surprise an enemy, but the attack power is greatly reduced. Spoke Khan as he publicly announced the biggest demerit of this signature skill used by his opponent. Now only 2 copies remained, including the real Veronica. And right after him, disclosing the biggest flaw of her skill, Veronica, who had hidden herself using some kind of skill, leaked her killing intent on Khan's southeastern direction. Boom! Boom! Crack! Just then, multiple aura blades clashed in the air above, and Khan's aura blades started breaking and destroying the ones made by the opposition. However, Khan quickly sidestepped and evaded a stabbing attack as another Veronica appeared out of thin air. While her body was still afloat in the air, Khan's eyes moved and even scared her because the him now could easily see and sense her attacks coming. Impossible! How can he see me so suddenly? He could barely sense my strikes before. She thought. Kick! Khan kicked her in the stomach, and with a swift horizontal slash, he beheaded Veronica. Boom! A shockwave filled the battlefield as another copy of the swordswoman exploded after getting killed. Khan simply smirked, and then he turned to his back and spoke in a mischievous tone. The next moment, Veronica's figure appeared 20 meters away out of thin air as she had a bewildered expression on her face. You could sense where my real body was? She asked in disbelief. Of course. After all, the bond between us transcends beyond human understanding. Taunted Khan instead of answering straightly. With survival instinct, divine ability, and hunter's intense skill being active all the time, he knew her location since the beginning. Just that he was only putting up an act of being clueless. Shrill. The next second, however, Khan used Executioner's Gaze and paralyzed her on the spot. Khan lifted Lucifer upwards, and soon, all the aura swords made of different destructive elements hovered towards Veronica. Bang! Boom! Boom! Let it be fire or lightning. All his 5-meter-long aura blades made from different elements attacked the paralyzed opponent, and the opposite side of the battlefield was filled with explosions and the floor itself cracked open. After 2 minutes, the cloud of dust finally faded, and the figure of a girl with multiple bruises, charred body parts, deep and bloody wounds was revealed. At this moment, the real Veronica was covered in blood as half of her body was riddled with deep wounds, and apart from her chest and waist, all her clothes were tattered to pieces. Veronica was bleeding profusely and barely gasping for breath. Billions of people watching throughout the Rocco's empire gasped in surprise, and some even feared for the fate of this young woman. Tap, tap. Khan walked towards her with indifferent eyes as he looked at the bloodied figure of the opponent, as she barely managed to stay conscious at this moment. His remorseless eyes landed on the once elegant and beautiful woman as he spoke in a tyrannical and grim tone. You're 100 years too young to fight me as equals. In front of nearly 5 million people in the battle arena and more than 3 billion people watching on broadcasting screens throughout the Rocco's empire, Khan put the young talent of the Michelson clan in the ground and riddled with wounds. Why isn't anyone counting? Shouted Khan as he gave a deathly stare to the referee. The referee, who was scared witless, ran towards Veronica, who was barely conscious at the moment, and started counting. 1, 2, 3. Ding, ding, ding. The winner is candidate Khan of Rukhan district, declared the referee. Boo! Boo-hoo! What a pathetic loser. How can he harm a woman this badly? Spoke some people among the audience. What bullshit. So he should be gentle in a fight just because the opponent is a woman? Didn't you see how she almost tried to kill him since the beginning of the match? Retorted one of the men from 7 Deadly Sins, who was seated as a merchant in the crowd. Poor girl. Somebody call the healers. She's badly wounded. Soon, millions and then over 1 billion people started worrying about Veronica, who looked like she was in mortal danger to many people watching. The majority of them didn't like Khan's treatment of the female swordswoman in the end. Khan, on the other hand, didn't even bother looking at the opponent as he walked away carefree with his greatsword on the shoulder. The negative public opinion was exactly what he wanted to achieve from this match. "Gather the money and meet me at the manor," commanded Khan to all the generals and Omega who were present in the crowd. And all of this was done to make more people bet against him in the next match. Because he knew that even if he won the match honorably, he'd still be looked down upon in the semifinals anyway. So why not use it to make more profits? As for why he didn't fear the wrath of the Michelson clan for injuring and then taunting Veronica even in her pitiful state was because even when people hated him, if anything happened to him till the semifinals, everyone would naturally blame the shift on them. At this exact moment, Stronov Michelson spoke in their VIP room. "Send a second stage saint to protect that young man," he said with a cautious expression on his face. Isaac, who was enraged to his core after watching his cousin wounded to this extent, was left speechless. "Second uncle, why do we have to protect that bastard? Can't you see what he did?" shouted the blonde young knight. "Silence. This isn't something so simple. Anything happening to him can cost us a lot," spoke the fourth stage saint. This matter was so crucial that even the Michelson clan itself was forced to provide him security instead, as a single rumor was more than enough to destroy their image in front of the whole empire, and many of their enemies would use that opportunity to oppress and then pick fights with them. Not only their reputation but also their businesses and properties would be criticized, and they'd be in a pinch just because something happened to Khan. Boom! A deathly aura erupted in their VIP room and almost shattered the windows and furniture in the room as everyone excluding Stronov were shoved away because of this sudden burst of energy. At this exact moment, Khan, who was leaving the battle ring, sensed an intense killing aura coming from the 7th floor of the battle arena, exactly from the VIP room of the Michelson clan. But instead of getting worried or being fearful for his life, he gave a light smirk in their direction and left the battle ring carefreely. He could sense that the killing intent wasn't released by a saint but a semi-saint like himself, so he didn't feel any sense of threat to his life and hence didn't bother entertaining whoever it was. "Calm down, Cassandra," spoke Stronov to his niece. It was Cassandra Michelson who had an extremely infuriated expression on her face as she looked at Veronica, who was being escorted out on a stretcher, and then Khan, who didn't even bother looking at her injured body as if he didn't care if she lived or died. "Khan, is it? He better hope that we don't meet in a match. He hurt our Veronica this badly. If he ends up facing me in the next round, I'll kill him myself," spoke the raven-haired sorceress donned in black robes. Her wrathful gaze had marked Khan as she imprinted his face in her mind. 1 hour later. Tap, tap, tap. Veronica came inside their VIP room after recovering from all of her wounds that looked lethal previously. Her attire was exactly the same prior to the match. Thanks to the high-grade health and stamina recovery potions, she managed to recover and heal completely after drinking a few bottles. But instead of speaking a word to anyone and even her cousins, she steadily walked towards her father, who was seated on a big and luxurious chair like a king. She knelt on one knee in front of her father and spoke in an exhausted tone. "Please forgive me, father. I have brought shame to your and our clan's name," spoke Veronica with a heavy heart. She still hadn't recovered mentally and couldn't accept the fact that she lost to Khan in front of the whole empire. And that too when her father, who trained her since a young age, was watching the match himself. "I could have accepted my loss if it was a semi-saint. But this is completely unacceptable," she said, and soon tears trickled down her cheeks and ran like a river. "Sob, sob." Veronica started sobbing while Cassandra leaned towards her and embraced her in her arms. "Not only did I lose to just a peak grandmaster, but he is also a magic swordsman just like me. I'm sorry. Your daughter has failed you," she said while still sobbing. Stronov, on the other end, didn't have a look of disappointment as he gazed at his daughter. "You haven't brought any shame to me or our family name. You're neither a disappointment nor should you feel embarrassed," spoke the #1 swordsman of the empire. "Huh? Why? I don't understand, father," she asked. "Sigh." Stronov let out a hushed sigh and spoke in a stern tone as he responded to his confused daughter. Because you didn't have any chance of winning to begin with. After the straight-to-the-facts words spoken by Stronov that appeared hurtful to everyone in the room, especially to his own daughter who just had a little emotional breakdown after being unable to accept his defeat. A silence ensued in the room. However, based on his tone and the calm demeanor, most of them quickly understood that he must have had a reason for speaking those words. "Everyone aside from Veronica and Cassandra leave the room," he ordered. This baffled many of them, but everyone decided to follow the orders of the clan's commander without thinking for another second. "Yes, your lordship," spoke one of the attendants, and everyone, including Isaac, left the room. Stronov then took a unique rank isolation artifact and separated the room from the outside world as the thick barrier encapsulated the entire room. "Let me explain why I said so," he said, and soon he started elaborating the meaning behind his direct words. After just 2 minutes of their conversation, both Veronica and Cassandra had their eyes wide open in disbelief. Both of their bewildered eyes and aghast expressions were as clear as the sky. "That's impossible," spoke both Veronica and Cassandra at the same time. Their voices synced and echoed in the room. "I can say that we are lucky that I came to see today's match. Only someone who is at least a 4th stage saint can sense it. Since no one among the other saints present here is at least on my level or a stage above me, I don't think the majority of the people or any of the top figures of the Empire have figured it out yet. And I heard that no one apart from that peak Grandmaster Blacksmith Albestros Winston has backed him officially. So I'm certain no one else knows of this even now. This is a great opportunity for our clan." He spoke in a slightly excited tone. "What do you mean by a great opportunity, second uncle?" asked Cassandra. But instead of responding to his niece, Stronov looked towards the battle ring with expectant eyes. "Cassandra, if you ever cross paths with him, be extremely careful of this young man," he said, and then next moment, spoke with a resolute voice. "If he doesn't accept our proposal through riches, power, and authority." His following words petrified both Veronica and Cassandra on the spot. "I shall even offer to make him my direct disciple." Khan had returned to his manor by the night after changing his appearance a couple of times and hiding in between the crowd. Many people tried to target him again, while some tried to make shady deals with him, so he was left with only choice and left the battle arena without raising suspicion. After the management informed him about his semifinal match that will be held 12 days later, he had quite some time on his hands. This time, however, instead of holding a meeting between his subordinates, Khan had a meeting with the old man Albestros in his private office inside the manor. "So how did it go? Do you think you'll succeed?" asked the old man in a deep voice. "I'm not sure. Things are still as dangerous as before. But for now, your name and position in the capital is completely secured. Even if I were to provoke someone powerful, no one, including the 3 factions, would dare to touch or harm you in any way. To everyone, I'm just someone you hired as a bodyguard when leaving the Flavit City in case they tried to do some background research on me. And I have only worked as your stand-in for a short time in the Bloodborne Company since all the official records and documentation have you as the listed owner. I have taken care of everything," said Khan. "But Khan, I'm still worried about the outcome of the competition. If you succeed in your plans, you know that only death awaits you," spoke Albestros in a caring tone. "I know, and that's exactly why I have planned everything ahead. In just a month, I will achieve all my goals, and if things go as planned, not even those 7th stage saints can touch me," spoke Khan in a relaxed tone as he leaned against the sofa. "Still, is it really necessary though? We already have so much money and prestige. It's more than enough to live a good and peaceful life in the capital. Why must you risk your life?" asked the old blacksmith dressed in white and blue regal clothes. To his words full of worry, Khan responded in a mischievous tone. "I don't want peace. I want problems. Always," he said and chuckled lightly. "I just want to make sure that no one dares to step on me like I'm some ant or a side character of a story who gets oppressed because he's weak. My goals aren't set out of my greed but my own will as well as an absolute necessity. So I must take this risk or I won't get another chance in this life. replied Khan with a thoughtful expression. Besides, this Rukon district is too small for someone like me. And don't worry, I'll make sure that our future is 100 times better than what we currently have. Even those 3 factions won't be able to touch us, he said with a confident tone. Then what are you going to do in the meantime? 14 days gap is too long to waste, spoke Albestros as he sipped on a glass of wine. Well, I'm not going to be as ignorant as before. Everyone remaining in the upcoming matches is an enemy. And I once heard a very good saying. So I'm going to watch their matches and know who I'm up against. Especially those semi-saints who are the only threat to me. He replied. Is that so? Then tell me what was that saying? Commended Albestros. Khan simply took a small breath and replied with a benign smile. If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. The following day, the second round was to be held in one of the top 10 districts of the capital. After yesterday's match and the grand display of fighting skills and decisive attacks, the mood around the competition itself changed, and for the first time, a dark horse who was a commoner by birth had qualified for the semifinals in the past 1,000 years old history of this competition. Regardless of whether one liked the results of the match or not, Khan had become the first one to accomplish such a feat, and even if one resented him because of how he treated his opponent at the end of the match, there was no doubt that he too was a real deal. Because magic swordsmen were as rare as Phoenix's feather already. And he too was one of the only 2 individuals under the age of 30 to unlock the unique class. Since nobody knew that Khan actually wasn't a magic swordsman but only had that class's unique skills after he absorbed them from Arkham, the public opinion about him turned his name into one of the prodigies of the Empire. And that too with the fact that he had no master till this point. Khan had become a well-known swordsman throughout the Empire despite the majority of the people hating him. Because at the end of the day, bad publicity was still publicity. The next day, he traveled to watch the next match between the next candidates. He changed his appearance to an elderly snakekin business tycoon and came to the battle arena. This was the match between the dual sword saintess aka Celine Armitage, the half-breed demonkin swordswoman who was also one of the chosen representatives of the neutral faction. And unlike Cassandra, she had used the token to participate directly from the 5th round. Yet, her strength and skills made her well known as she didn't lose a single match up to this point. And her opponent was a dual swordsman who was also nicknamed as the Black Flame because of his mastery over fire-related skills and combat techniques using his swords. And coincidentally, Khan knew this fighter as they had fought together once in a match. It was none other than Niklaus, one of the brothers who Khan met and fought along with in the 5th round of the competition. As for Elijah, the older brother, he was defeated by none other than the chosen representative of the Pureblood faction. The one Khan had yet to meet or face in the competition so far. And out of the remaining candidates, he was the only remaining peak Grandmaster fighter since Khan defeated Veronica yesterday. Although the battle was already decided based on the rank, strength, and levels of the fighters, people still looked forward to the match because they knew that it would still be entertaining. And many wanted to see if Niklaus could force the dual sword saintess to reveal her best combat techniques. As for Khan, he wasn't here to bet but to watch and study his potential opponents that he may have to fight in the semifinals. Since watching a fight on broadcasting screens was different compared to real life where he couldn't even sense the combatant's aura they released during a fight, it was the only plausible option for him. After the whole announcement and introduction stuff happened just like yesterday, the match between these dual swords began. Niklaus, who was clad in his usual black armor set while equipped with 2 epic rank swords that had sharp teeth-like blades, faced against Celine, who was adorned in black and red lightweight armor and had 2 epic rank red swords as if they were just taken out of the furnace. The white-haired young woman with one long, while the other short red horns on her head also charged at the enemy fiercely as her bright red iris locked on the opponent in sight. Nicholas and Celine's yellow and red aura filled the battlefield respectively. And soon, their swords clashing against each other filled the battle arena with shrills. Clang, crang, swoosh, bang. Niklaus revealed to the whole empire why he was nicknamed as Black Flame. The dual swordsman clad in black armor was an expert at using fire-related attacks, let it be small explosive swings or ground-shattering burst attacks. And not only was he a full-fledged powerhouse himself, but his fighting style was very direct and domineering. Instead of focusing on defense, he straight-up overpowered Celine with his physical strength alone, to the point where even the semi-saint rank swordswoman was forced to retreat a couple of times. Celine, on the other end, was fast, and her own aura blades created a shield made up of swords as a form of defense. Each one of these swords worked like a landmine when Niklaus attacked them head-on. Unlike Veronica, Celine wasn't only fast, but her single strike was enough to even put a semi-saint on back foot. She wasn't as fast as the Flash Goddess, but by no means were her skills limited. During the battle itself, Celine used at least 6 different techniques and finally managed to tire out Niklaus in a long half-an-hour arduous battle. But Niklaus himself was no weakling either. His multiple sword aura attacks made the battle ring appear like a site of volcano eruption, as he himself was burning with intense heat leaking out of his armor, fought with Celine as if his life was on the line. Both the opponent were equally matched throughout the fight, but in the end, Celine was forced to use her Demonkin bloodline abilities and received a short boost in her strength and defeated Niklaus by stabbing through his abdomen in the last second. And just like that, the dual sword saintess retained her name and reputation. As for Khan, he was mostly taken aback by the sheer number of skills and combat techniques used by both sides. He spoke in a cautious tone as he saw the hybrid Demonkin semi-saint woman leaving the battle ring with a tired expression. "I need to up my game, because the way things are." He spoke with a worried expression and continued in an exasperated tone. "I can't even win against this woman." Khan was taken aback by the display of skills and power by Celine. By no means was she faster or more agile than Veronica, but the control over the aura that she used to create her aura blades and then even changing their shapes to different weapons was something Khan hadn't even thought of before. Niklaus was indeed on par with Veronica, just that he focused more on power than speed. So from Khan's perspective, the match was indeed worthwhile. This, in a way, ended up encouraging Khan to do better and fight fiercely in the semifinals. Because if he held off his hand against the semi-saints who had a plethora of skills and combat techniques at their disposal, his loss would be confirmed for sure. With his eidetic memory, he remembered every single attacking move, defensive skill, and even Celine's body movements when she attacked the opponent. So he wanted to prepare and look for countermeasures in case he had to face her in the next round. So Khan created a list of her attack patterns, her skills, and her fighting style after carefully analyzing everything he saw in the match for future strategy. Although he knew it wasn't even her best, having at least enough knowledge was better than having nothing. On the following day, the hype for the competition reached a new height that even Khan hadn't dreamed of ever since the competition started. The next match was one of the biggest highlights because of the 2 candidates who'd be fighting against each other. Victor Apopes versus Ezekiel Nabi, the chosen representative of the demi-human faction against the chosen representative of the pureblood faction. A semi-saint versus a semi-saint. This was a match that the whole empire was looking forward to because both of them were renowned fighters of their respective factions, but so far, no one had seen them in a full-front battle. Not even their peers from the younger generation. So not only the common folks but all the factions were anticipating this match to see who was the stronger fighter. But what made this fight even more hyped was because of the former candidate. Victor Apopes was a scythe user who was also the youngest yet the most talented son of the previous emperor's chosen, Darius Apopes, who won this competition 50 years ago and was the current head of his clan. His position in the demi-human faction was only second to the faction leader, as he was a 6th-stage Saint Spearman. And hence, most of the empire was looking to see him fight, given how a legacy was involved with his name. As per rumors, Victor defeated his opponent with a single swing of his weapon and severely injured them in the previous round. But since that match wasn't broadcasted throughout the empire, only those who attended it knew of his strength. Ezekiel Nabi, on the other hand, no one knew anything about this candidate and his race or species because he kept his appearance hidden till this point. All public knew was that he is an elemental mage and extremely powerful as well as talented at that. Luckily for Khan, one of his potential enemies will be taken out of here and he will face the winner in the semifinals. So he too attended this match while under the disguise of a snakekin noble heir. When the match finally started, what Khan saw was something that completely opened up a new world to him as far as magic was concerned. Since he was studying magic and became an intermediate rank mage just a month ago himself, he saw an impeccable display of mana manipulation and perfect spell casting for the first time. Ezekiel, who finally revealed his appearance and identity as a human mage to the Empire, cast 6 different elemental spells and attack skills. He cast 2 additional elements compared to Solomon, who cast only 4 element spells and AoE skills when Khan fought him outside the Flavit City. And the use of mana as well as its density in each of these elemental spells was highly condensed. It even exceeded Khan's current limits by 3 times when it came to casting magic spells. And that too after Khan had inherited the Elven species bloodline specialty skills named Elemental Fusion and Elemental Transformation after eating Solomon's core. Even so, he still won't be a match compared to Ezekiel even if they were to be of the same levels and rank. The match was many times thrilling and far more entertaining compared to his own, as half of the 1-kilometer-wide battlefield was destroyed to pieces and only 30% portion remained in the 1-hour-long battle. And when the match came close to its end, Khan was left speechless while watching the match between these 2 monsters in their own ways fight like their life depended on it. Victor, who was a half-breed demonkin, was actually the best among his siblings who could use their family's rumored true demon bloodline and got a massive boost in attack and mana capacity for 10 minutes. Since Khan himself had the Berserk God mode and possessed 5% of true demon bloodline, which he got from Dormammu, he quickly noticed the changes in Victor's body. There was nothing but pure untapped destructive power after he activated his bloodline effect, and even the density of his aura strikes increased by at least 3 times. Khan too had these bloodline abilities, but at best, they gave him a boost in strength only by 1.5 times. If he wanted to match with Victor, he'd have to absorb this true demon bloodline to 100%, and only he'd be able to face this opponent. Only Berserk God mode could help him stand against him, but using that skill in this competition was a huge risk in itself because in everyone's eyes, he was a normal human. At the end, Victor finally won the match and qualified for the semifinals as the last burst of power broke through Ezekiel's defenses and landed a critical wound which made the genius mage faint in the end, like how Khan defeated Veronica. But one thing Khan learned after watching these 2 matches, whether it was Selene, Victor, or Ezekiel, he was nowhere close to fighting them on even terms as a swordsman because they were simply too skilled. If not for his divine abilities, the blessings, he wouldn't even be able to stand in the same room as these prodigies. And on top of that, there were 2 more semi-saints he had yet to see fight. His notion of facing these young geniuses as equals was broken today. Now, it almost seemed laughable, because these weren't just some glorified young masters or clan heirs who worked their way up because of their family background. These were the true masters of their crafts. They all were the crème de la crème. The following day, today, the next and the final match of the quarterfinals was to take place in one of the central districts of the capital. And it was going to be a match between 2 genius females of the Empire. Cassandra Michelson of the neutral faction, a rumored prodigy and also the first one to break through to semi-saint rank under the age of 30 in the past 20 years. And her opponent Vinirma Pakshi, a 28-year-old female semi-saint Tengu archer who was nicknamed as the Flying Rainstorm. Just like yesterday when Victor v Ezekiel's match happened, today's match also had the same hype towards the match. And after today, there would be 10 days of resting period for all the combatants before the semifinals would officially begin. As for Khan, who wanted to personally visit this match and gauge these opponents and their strengths as well as skills, he had chosen not to go, and the main reason being a guest who was personally coming to visit their manor. This persona was an entity that very few people in the whole Rocco's empire had a chance to get a glimpse of. Even other saints greatly feared this man given his title and strength. And as per rumors, he was someone even the enemy empires avoided when it was a matter of full-scale war. In a way, the person who was visiting them today played as one of the pillars of the military defense of the whole empire. Even those from the rival factions had a sense of respect towards this individual given the title he had earned. The Emerald Swordsman Stronov Michelson, a 4th stage Saint Swordsman who was also called the #1 swordsman of the empire. And this grand figure who millions of people looked up to and wanted to get a glimpse had sent a messenger to Khan's manor yesterday evening. And thus, instead of going to watch the match, Khan and Albestros chose to stay and prepare to welcome their honorable guest instead. In the afternoon, the envoy of the commander of the Michelson clan finally came through a small flying ship and landed in the 5 acres green field of the area surrounding their manor. Khan sent a carriage to receive their guest and waited at the main entrance door of his manor to welcome the guest as a host. A small group of 100 soldiers in white and blue battle gear that belonged to his side escorted the 21 individuals that came as part of the envoy. And when the last and most luxurious carriage finally stopped at their door front, an enigmatic and kingly personal donned in silver armor and an epic rank giant's word on his back appeared in front of the hosts. Everyone including Khan bowed in respect towards this grand figure, who even the batch of saints he met in his company couldn't compare to even if they were to fight together, stood with a calm demeanor on his face. "Greetings, your lordship. We humbly welcome you to my small abode. Please allow us to offer our hospitality," spoke Albestros like a true nobleman as he addressed the 2 kilometers wide and 3 kilometers long grand mansion that previously housed thousands of people of an entire clan as a small abode. Stronov gazed at the manor and its architecture a bit and nodded in approval. "Not bad. It's also built strategically to house many warriors and even has a training facility beneath the ground," spoke Stronov in an appreciating tone. "Bloody hell. He can even sense the whole facility, which is that deep in the ground? How strong is a 4th stage saint in reality?" Wondered Khan, because this place was hard to detect even by peak Grandmaster mages who were proficient in magic formations, arrays, and mana sensitivity. Yet the swordsman in front of him quickly found out about it with a single glance. After all the pleasantries were done and Stronov, along with the 20 peak grandmasters varying from middle-aged to elderly warriors of different genders and species, were escorted inside the manor. A whole setup of a grand meeting was already prepared in the large hall of the manor that could hold a big party of thousands. Fragrant refreshments and aromatic food were already ready to be served by the queues of professional servants and maids, and all these individuals were seated on round tables of their own. And obviously, Stronov sat on the main table along with Albestros. "Why are you not sitting with us?" asked the gray-haired middle-aged man with a short beard. "Apologies, my lord. I do not qualify to sit at the same table as you," spoke Khan in a courteous tone as he half bowed in front of the man who was the idol of hundreds of millions of people in the empire. Stronov chuckled and spoke in a friendly tone. "There's no need to be so formal. One of the reasons I came here was actually to meet you in person." "What?" exclaimed Khan in surprise. But before the man could reply, Khan spoke again hurriedly. "If it's about the match I had with Lady Veronica, I wholeheartedly apologize for going that far." This time it was Stronov and his group who were taken aback. "PFFTT. Ha. Is that why you think I came here?" asked Stronov as he and the other members of his envoy laughed. "Then, what is it, if I may ask?" asked Khan with an intentionally created surprised expression. "We Michelsons embrace even death as long as it is honorable. You won the match fair and square, so you don't need to worry about that matter. There are 3 reasons why I have come to meet you and Master Albestros here," said Stronov. "What is it, Sir Stronov?" asked Albestros in his elderly and regal tone. "Can I see your sword first?" he asked. Khan took out Lucifer and handed it to the saint. He wasn't being cowardly in front of the powerful, but he wasn't an idiot either to act aloof or high and mighty in front of a respectful person that was indeed worth admiring, and who could also kill him with a sneeze if provoked. Shrill. A loud shrill filled the entire hall as soon as Stronov held Lucifer in his hands and started inspecting it. "Bloodbind ritual. It is linked to your soul and cannot be used by anyone else even if you were to die." He spoke with a thoughtful expression. "A true gem of work indeed, Master Albestros. Even other peak Grandmaster blacksmiths I met have failed many times to perform this ritual successfully." He looked at the peak Grandmaster blacksmith with eyes full of respect. "If I'm not wrong, it's made from the fangs of a drake. So it was indeed you who cleared that dungeon as suspected by our informants. This indeed shows the level of your talent and strength." he said in an approving voice. The next moment, both Khan and Albestros were rooted on the spot. Their secret was already known to this man. It also showed that he had done thorough research on them beforehand. "May I see the armor?" he asked. However, Khan shook his head and responded, "Apologies, your lordship, but this is not a suitable place for it," he said without hesitation. However, neither Stronov nor his people felt offended by this refusal. All of them were seasoned warriors who knew how to respect and care for their weapons and armors as if they were part of their own bodies. Forcing Khan to reveal it would be an unfitting act for people of their caliber. As for why Khan didn't want to reveal it, because it was one of his trump cards, and the man in front of him belonged to the side of one of the potential rivals in the competition. "No problem. I hope to see it someday, and if I'm not wrong, that will be worth the wait," spoke Stronov. "As for the second reason, I wanted to offer Master Albestros and his company to be one of our main suppliers for the armory of our clan. I'm aware of your deals with the Vanderite clan and the Pureblood faction, but please know that we will not intervene in your business with them. And also I give my word that regardless of the outcome of the Emperor's chosen competition, it shall not affect our agreement in any way," he said in a firm and chivalrous tone. "I see. So that's why he personally visited us. This deal will surely be bigger than what we have going on with the Pureblood faction since we're bigger and more prestigious now," thought Khan and gave Albestros an understanding gaze. "And the third is something I wanted to talk about in private, just between the three of us," said Stronov as he spoke in a serious tone. There was no malice or authority in his words, but both Khan and Albestros quickly understood the gravity of the situation. Even Khan had anticipated what this third reason could be after they suddenly received the message yesterday. He quickly took an epic-grade space domain artifact out of his space ring and activated it. All three of them, including the table, were isolated from the outside world in a second. "What is the reason you speak of, your lordship?" asked Khan in a respectful tone. The next moment, Stronov slightly revealed his aura. There was no suppression or threat in it, but Khan was shaken to his core as soon as he heard the words. The fourth stage Saint Swordsman, the number one swordsman of the whole empire, spoke in a majestic and domineering voice. "I want you to join the Michelson clan." Khan va Albestros stood gobsmacked on the spot after the fourth stage Saint Swordsman revealed his true intentions to them. Offering to have Khan join their faction or their ranks was somehow understandable, but what he wanted was to have Khan join their clan instead. Joining their clan meant as in taking their family name through marriage. "Wait, what? Why do you want me to do that?" "Why me?" asked Khan with a baffled expression. "Because when Ismaetrezl wanted him to join their side, he wanted to accept Khan as his disciple at most, but what Stronov suggested was excessively absurd. Yes, if you want, I can arrange your marriage in our clan and accept you as a family member. I initially wanted to accept you as my disciple, but it would turn out extremely bothersome in the long run as I can't impart the majority of my skills or combat techniques to an outsider. So if you were to get accepted through marriage, I would be justified to train you myself," elaborated Stronov. "But why? I don't get it. It's not like you even know me. And why would you want me to join your prestigious clan in the first place? We're a bunch of nobodies compared to your 1,000-year-old clan and lineage that exists since the time this empire was created." Questioned Khan again. "Ah, so we're playing it that way, huh?" sighed Stronov, and the next second, over 300 aura blades, each filled with world energy, just like when Khan dueled with the vampire clan leader, came to be, and all of them targeted him. Swoosh! Swoosh! The hundreds of aura swords attacked Khan instantly, and he quickly used Side Hopper and appeared 50 meters away in the space domain. But unlike his prior experience, he wasn't in a duel this time, but an actual battle. Swoosh! Khan quickly summoned Lucifer back in his hand and grasped it just in time before he was hit by the first volley of sword attacks. Stronov on the other end was still seated in his chair with his arms folded, while Albestros had a baffled expression, as if he still couldn't understand exactly what was happening in the past 5 seconds. "This bastard!" cursed Khan and quickly activated Sword King skill. Boom! Dozens of aura blades made of different elements aside from light and darkness elements formed around Khan as he also released his domineering aura of a semi-saint, and in the next second, 100 swords were formed around him instantly. Impossible! I knew he was a semi-saint, but these many swords, and all these different elements. He can use more elemental aura swords than me, exclaimed Stronov for the first time ever since he met Khan. Soon, what happened even caught the number 1 swordsman of the Empire by surprise, because his aura blades that were infused with world energy clashed with the ones created by Khan and right in front of his eyes. Khan's blades started absorbing them. World energy absorption restarted. Current progress, 0.4%, informed the system. The last time when the system gave this similar notification was when Khan had the duel with the clan leader of the Vanderite clan when he escorted Sale to their main headquarters. Because of Khan's ability absorption divine ability. He could also absorb the world energy that basically helped an entity become a saint rank individual in the first place. Stronov jolted up in shock as he saw Khan fighting and evading these swords successfully despite being outnumbered. Yet, while facing the weapons that were 3 times than his own in numbers, there was no fear or doubt in his eyes. And given his own talent as a swordsman, he noticed one more thing that completely boggled his mind. Khan was suddenly appearing from one place to another in a flash. And this technique was something he was extremely familiar with. Khan was using the flash steps technique. It was exactly the technique used by Veronica during their battle. This kid. He's a complete freak, Stronov thought to himself. Who the hell are you? He shouted and stopped his swords from moving. That's an odd question after coming here and trying to kill me, spoke Khan in a serious tone. This guy came right inside his house and attacked him out of nowhere, and yet he dared to ask who the hell he was. I already sensed that you were a semi-saint during your match with my daughter, but that skill. How can a semi-saint use the Sword King skill without even becoming a saint first? Even I could barely create 60 aura swords when I was a semi-saint. And I was the best of my generation in the whole empire. He iterated. Plus you can already absorb the world energy from my swords. That shouldn't even be possible. He spoke with disbelief in his eyes. And I taught the flash steps technique to my daughter. It took her a decade to master the basic movements and you learned them after a single fight? How the hell is that even possible? He kept asking. The most talented swordsman of the Empire was overwhelmed by Khan's talent. Damn! I revealed too much, cursed Khan in his mind as he came to a realization. By his instincts, while he faced these attacks from Stronov, he was literally in a fight-to-death scenario and ended up not only revealing that he was a semi-saint but also the Sword King skill that the vampire clan leader already compared to a saint rank skill nearly 10 months ago. And he ended up using the flash steps technique he had been practicing ever since the battle with Veronica. And because of the combat technique mastery blessing given by the war deity Cravel, he had already unlocked that skill by practicing during his training sessions and currently had 23% proficiency in this combat technique. While facing the sudden onslaught, he ended up fighting with his survival instinct and not his brain. And now, many questionable things about him were revealed to the 4th stage saint. This won't do. I can't let others find out about this, spoke Stronov hurriedly as his mind was completely discombobulated. Khan, you have to join my clan, but not as a normal member, he said and continued again. But this time, his words were even more outrageous than the previous proposal. I want you to join it, as my son-in-law. At this point, Khan's mind was in disarray as this another outrageous proposal by the 4th stage Saint Swordsman exceeded the previous one. The number 1 swordsman of the whole Rocco's empire wanted Khan to become his son-in-law? And that too after Khan beat the shit out of his to-be wife already in front of the entire empire and put her in a near-death situation at that. What kind of bullshit is this? Has this old man gone crazy? Asked Khan to himself as he was still processing the happenings of the past 10 minutes. Because things took a 180-degree turn too quickly. Twice. Don't be surprised when I tell you this. But you have the potential to surpass me. Not just me but any other swordsman that ever came before me. I don't know how you reached this level even without proper backing or training from seasoned warriors of the Empire, but I guess once in a millennium geniuses are made different. Explained Stronov and let out a content sigh. Albestros, who stood behind Stronov, was also taken aback by this proclamation. He knew that Khan was indeed a genius, but since he wasn't a swordsman himself, he truly hadn't recognized Khan's potential until this very moment. Humph! You're looking down on me, you dumbass. Not just swordsmanship, but I have the potential to surpass others in every weapon and combat technique. Because I have the blessings from Kratos, Kravel, the war deity himself. All I need is time and more practice in all of them. Scorned Khan in his mind. One of the reasons why he felt thankful to Kravel even now was because although Khan had divine abilities, they had limited use and didn't actually help him as a fighter in order to survive. He could get abilities and create allies with them, but they never helped in actually increasing his fighting styles, effectiveness, or his skill ranks. The lion's share in his current level as a warrior, his combat techniques mastery, weapon mastery, as well as his survival was mostly because of the blessings given by Kravel. If not for them, Khan knew he'd still be struggling to become a proper warrior compared to the professionally trained people in this new world, and he'd not even be comparable to the top prodigies of the Empire. So what do you say? You're a diamond in the rough, and I can provide you basically everything you need to become one of the best and most powerful swordsmen in the Empire. Letting your talent go to waste by leaving you here to live like this would be unfair to every swordsman in our empire. He said, I apologize. I don't plan to join your clan or become your disciple, said Khan with resolute eyes. His body stood tall like a true warrior who'd not even cower in the face of death. Boom! However, the very next second, Stronov released his aura of a saint and the space domain instantly froze as if time itself stopped moving. Both Khan and Albestros couldn't even move their eyelids under this insurmountable and dense aura. What I'm offering you is what others won't even consider rather than directly oppressing you to the point you'll have to become their puppet, he said and walked close to Khan. Stronov stood in front of the young man and put his hand on Khan's left shoulder and spoke. You will understand once I take you to our clan's headquarters, so don't try to resist, because I won't be polite from here on, he said in a tyrannical voice that made goosebumps rise on Khan's entire body. Damn! Why is this happening? I was so close to achieving my goals. Cursed Khan again. Stronov finding out about his rank was something he hadn't foreseen despite him taking all the necessary precautions. This thwarted his plans completely. At this moment, Khan was again at the mercy of a superior being. He had already activated war dominance but against the 4th stage saint. It didn't even make a difference at all. Damn it! I swear I'll kill this bastard, cursed Khan in his head. This was the second time he was being oppressed by a saint. Boom! However, before Stronov could take any other action and abduct Khan, a burst of blue fire emitted out of Khan's body, and the next second, a bone-chilling aura was released in the surroundings. And the target of this horrifying aura was none other than Stronov, and what happened next shook Khan. The almighty 4th stage saint who was feared by many was the one kneeling on the ground now. Who dares to touch my chosen candidate? A grim and hoarse voice resounded in the domain as the aura of the saint completely disappeared. In the following moment, something appeared out of Khan's space ring and shone brightly as the domineering voice of an elderly person even made the #1 swordsman of the Empire feel afraid. A golden slate-like token hovered in the air in between them and released an oppressive aura that was 100 times stronger and denser compared to the pressure released by Stronov. It was the recommendation token. The recommendation token given to Khan by the Pureblood faction somehow activated itself when Khan felt the danger to his life and appeared suddenly in between them. What the hell happening now? Khan thought. That token. And that voice. How? Asked Stronov with a pained expression on his face. You know who it is? Asked Khan with a confused face after he was finally able to calm himself quickly. This voice didn't belong to Ismatrasl as far as he remembered. Of course, I know who it is, said Stronov with a hateful expression on his countenance. You. Since when have you sided with the Pureblood faction? And why is their faction leader's personal token with you? asked Stronov again as the veins on his face popped out under this pressure. The once almighty and dangerous saint was now struggling to breathe properly. At this moment, neither Khan nor Albestros were affected by this blue fire and aura, but Stronov looked like he was carrying a boulder on his back. After a minute of realization, he spoke again with a solemn tone. So that's how it was. No wonder those bastards sent only one semi-saint in the competition, he said while adjusting his breathing and wiped out all the sweat on his face. He gazed at Khan with a bewildered expression and spoke. You were their biggest hidden card since the beginning. In front of Khan knelt one of the most prestigious and top figures of the empire, although it was because of a borrowed strength. He still had an upper hand for the moment. Good. They fooled us all for good, said Stronov. Soon, the aura released by the token subsided and Khan was on guard again. The recommendation token senses that Khan was no longer in mortal danger, so it temporarily deactivated itself. The recommendation tokens are also used for the protection of the candidates chosen by the faction and contain the aura of the faction leaders that's enough to incapacitate any opponent for a short time when the bearer is under danger or about to get harmed, said Stronov as he panted heavily. So I guess you're not without a proper backing after all. No one can even touch you as long as the competition is going on, spoke the fourth stage saint with an irritated expression. Why is he telling me this? He should try to hide this sort of information in order to blackmail or pressurize me. Wondered Khan if the saint had some ulterior motive behind revealing this information. A minute later, he finally managed to get back on his feet and brushed off the dust on his armor. But instead of getting angry or acting hostile, he took a deep breath and spoke to Khan again. Let's settle things with words again then. My previous offer still stands. You should know better which side will bring more benefits to you, he said. And the next moment, his gaze shifted to Albestros, who was still rooted on the spot this whole time. Master Albestros, do you really want to see Khan's talent and his life go to waste? And do you guys think that those extremist vampires will let him stay as a human? He questioned. Both Khan and Albestros had puzzled expressions on their faces. What do you mean? Asked Khan. Our entire Michelson clan is made from humans, and I wanted to bring him into our midst in a proper way. But that won't be the case if he joins the Vanderite clan, he reiterated. Stop beating around the bush. Just tell me what it is, spoke Albestros, his expression agitated at this point. We have records of one of their rituals they acquired from the Vampire Empire centuries ago, which could turn a human into a vampire. And if Khan sticks with them, they will definitely make him a vampire and also their slave if he doesn't give in, explained the saint. However, Khan was not an idiot to blindly believe that statement. That is my matter to take care of. It's not related to you in any way, spoke Khan with a high-pitched tone. He no longer had any good opinions about the man in front of him. Fool. You are too overconfident of yourself if you think you can face those bloodsuckers on your own. I may seem like an enemy now, but once this competition is over, you will see the truth behind my words. Your life is barely hanging by a thread and you don't even see it, scoffed Stronov. I'm a better choice than that Ismaetrezl in every way. He and I have fought many times in the past and I have never been defeated by him. And what I said before, you will understand the gravity of danger when you become a saint in the future. But given your current circumstances and your reach, you might not even become one in this lifetime, declared Stronov as he folded his hands behind his back. What are you trying to imply here? Asked Khan with a serious tone. He felt like it was something that he needed to know. Let me ask you something. Absorbing mana cores no longer works and your levels have hit a plateau, haven't they? Questioned Stronov, and he tilted his head and inspected Khan's body with his gaze alone. What the? How does he know? Thought Khan. Because even with his divine abilities and eating SS rank cores every day, Khan was still stuck at level 150 from over a month, as if his divine abilities no longer worked. After reaching the semi-saint rank and level 150, your strength will not reach the new realm no matter how many cores you absorb or how many decades you spend. Why do you think there are more than 200 semi-saints in our empire, but all the saints belong to either of the three factions and the top noble clans? Asked Stronov in a mocking tone. Khan, on the other end, had a moment of enlightenment after this question. The world energy, exclaimed Khan. Exactly. Why do you think the cores of the fallen saints are protected by every powerful clan? It's for their semi-saints to absorb world energy from and then cross level 200 after their bodies become completely adapted to it. Only then can one finally enter into the saint rank. Revealed the swordsman. System, isn't this the same condition you told me? Asked Khan to the system. Yes. But the host has no restrictions on world energy sources such as Saint's Core. Replied system. Then why aren't my levels increasing? Questioned Khan. Because the host hasn't absorbed or mastered enough world energy for the next spike in levels. Explained the system. I see. So that's why I have been stuck. I guess I'll have to take care of this issue after this competition. He thought, given your current reach and authority, can you even manage to get your hands on one in this lifetime? Mocked the middle-aged man. Khan stood silent on the spot. Bitch, I already have. I can help you become a saint even before you cross 30 years of age. And I will personally train you as well as provide a suitable environment, authority, and prestige. If you accept my proposal, that is, said Stronov with a righteous expression as if he was doing all of this out of his goodwill or some sort of obligation as a swordsman. However, Khan quickly replied in a tyrannical voice as if he had enough of this charade. Tell your lies to someone else. I'm not buying all this bullshit. Just before Khan had abruptly relayed his decision to Stronov, he had a well-thought judgment after contemplating everything ever since the fourth stage saint came to meet him in the first place. So it's his style to goad me into joining his side. He's knowingly revealing all this information to me so that I will find him reliable and think he has the best intentions for me. He wants me to think that he's on my side. This bastard is no different than others. Thought Khan to himself. In just a few moments, Khan replied his final decision again. I'll take my chances. So leave, said Khan. This time, there was no semblance of respect or politeness in his tone. Are you that stupid? Asked Stronov with an exasperated tone. This sudden shift in tone greatly angered him, but he couldn't touch Khan again lest he wanted to kneel in the ground. Whether it's Ismaetrezl, the Vanderite clans, the Pureblood faction, or you, there's one thing you all have in common. Spoke Khan with a domineering tone as he continued, all of you are liars. Khan walked close to the man and looked at him as if he had seen through the whole facade. You know that I'm a semi-saint, and the only swordsman among all the candidates. And you came here in secret knowing that I didn't have anyone's backing, so you wanted to recruit me. If not for me having this token, you would have kidnapped me and made one of your puppets for something you want anyway. That's the problem with you noble clans. You think that everyone besides you is stupid and will believe your words just because you're some powerful people. I'm now even more certain that whatever your intentions are after knowing my potential, they don't benefit neither me nor your clan. Whatever your plans are. I'm not going to play your game, said Khan with creased brows. He was barely holding his anger. This brat. Have I really been seen through? I guess I'll have to wait for the end of this competition. Then I'll deal with him, scoffed Stronov in his mind. You're making a grave mistake. Once your secret is out, everyone will become your enemy. I'm the only one who can protect you, said Stronov while keeping the pretense of someone who cared for Khan. Like I said, I will take care of my own problems. So leave. Spoke Khan with a lifeless expression. Humph! Scoffed off Stronov after being denied thrice by Khan. The only thing he could do now was to act later when Khan no longer had the recommendation token. When Stronov walked back with both his hands behind his back, his footsteps suddenly stopped. He turned his head towards Khan and spoke in a solemn tone. Master Albestros, I hope what happened between me and the kid doesn't affect our relationship. I will send my people soon to sign the contract regarding our deal related to weapons and armory, he said, and then his gaze shifted to Khan again. As for you, kid, let me offer you a word of advice. if you're unluckily pitted against my niece, Cassandra, in the upcoming rounds. Just give up and forfeit the match. You might as well make a lot of money by betting on your loss instead. Call it a fair warning out of courtesy," he said, and waited for the domain to deactivate. "And why is that? Didn't you say I have the potential to even surpass you?" asked Khan with a contemptuous tone. "You do, but the current you is no match for her. I'm not saying this because she is my niece or because I'm overconfident of her strength, but because Cassandra is not like you or the other candidates. Nobody outside of our close family circle has seen her fight at best, even with your talent va potential. If you fight her, you will definitely lose," declared Stronov. Khan did not respond and deactivated the artifact. Soon Stronov left with his envoy, although he could create a scene here. But Albestros was a figure he couldn't dare to harm. And using the peak Grandmaster Blacksmith to threaten Khan would also turn against him because this man was even more famous and favored by the saints of the three factions currently. Using his true strength here would come to bite him back later, and the plans he had for Khan that no one except him knew about for now would come to light. Even his secret visit here would need some covering up from his end. In the evening, Khan and Albestros were seated in their usual place in the garden where they often enjoyed the morning breakfast. Both of their faces had a sullen expression. Today's confrontation with the number one swordsman of the Empire was too overwhelming for both of them. Had it not been for the recommendation token Khan had with him, things would have turned out very differently, and they wouldn't have been able to resist at all, because fame, prestige, and authority can only protect you to a certain extent. "This is going to be a headache," spoke Albestros. His appearance looked as if he suddenly aged by another decade. "I don't understand one thing, though. Why was he so adamant about recruiting you? Compared to that vampire clan leader, he was very—" But before he could finish the words, "Desperate," interjected Khan. His eyes turned serious as a thoughtful expression appeared on his face. "For some reason, I can't see the full picture and what's happening behind the scenes. Even though the Vanderite clan gave me this token, they haven't tried to contact me even till this point. It's like something big is happening, and everyone is desperate to find a semi-saint fighter of their own despite there being more than 200 of them in the Empire," spoke Khan with a stern voice. "Well, I'll just focus on this competition for now," he said, and continued in an excited tone suddenly as battle intent filled his eyes. "And see how strong this Cassandra Michelson is." On the following day, Khan was following his practice sessions in swordsmanship and battle techniques inside the Batcave. He had halted off his training in magic and other weapons for now. After yesterday's incident, he had become more aware of his current predicament and how he was bound to be found sooner anyway, so he created a counterattack plan yesterday with Albestros. The subordinates with human form had yet to return since he sent all of them away yesterday because a fourth-stage saint would definitely detect them as monsters, so he couldn't take the risk. Aside from Rudrava Blackwell, who were hidden inside his shadow and were undetectable to a swordsman even if he was a saint, all of them had been tasked with gathering and tallying the money from his matches. When he finally finished his rigorous training for the day, Khan took out a wooden box from his space rings and opened its lid. A glimmering white orb was taken out of the box, and Khan stared at it with expectant eyes. This was the core of the first-stage Saint Magician from the Vampire clan, Karaberos Mor Vanderijk, one of the elders of the Vampire clan who had targeted Khan back in the day. Using Khan, Ismatrazul found out the traitor and then used him to find the traitors of their whole faction, which led to a grand ceremony of public execution throughout the Rakos Empire. And on the very same day when they were all burned, Khan went to the site and ordered Ronan, who was hidden in Sale Mor Vanderijk's shadow as per his previous commands, to steal this saint's core. Khan took that calculative risk because it was the only way for Khan to get a core of a first-stage saint without getting killed. And after a month, Ronan was finally able to deliver it when Khan welcomed Sale as his guest in the new manor. Since he was too weak back then, he couldn't utilize this core. And even now, he had to become level 200 first and then eat this core to become a full-fledged saint rank individual. Khan realized that apart from increasing his levels, he also has to keep increasing his mastery, and absorb more world energy for breaking through to new saint ranks in the future. Because it was like a condition to break the bottleneck, and he can't skip it even with his divine ability, because it only helped him absorb abilities but not make his own body more suitable to adapt to world energy. And since war deity body wouldn't come into effect until he became a first stage saint first, Khan had no choice but to look for a different method. System, can I absorb it now or somehow extract the world energy from this core? Asked Khan. The host currently does not possess any skill that could help in absorbing mana or world energy without directly eating the source, such as the core, in the host's hands. Responded the system in its usual robotic voice. And the core is highly condensed with world energy. The host's body is currently unable to sustain the absorption procedure. Spoke the system again. Then what about the first Emperor's core? You once said I can use it as an alternative source of mana, right? It also has world energy in it. Questioned Khan. The host is advised to use the Peak Saint's core only after becoming a first stage saint rank individual. Otherwise, the host's body will explode. Reminded the system again. Aish. Looks like I really don't have other alternatives for now. Wait. What if I eat the cores of monsters with higher ranks? They too will have world energy, right? Yes. But the host must eat at least a legendary rank monster's core. And it should be a fully matured one, unlike the core of the Somir host once ate. Because the saturated world energy is too weak in such entities. Informed system. Wait a minute. If that's the case, then doesn't it mean I can absorb it by eating the cores of the other semi-saints? Asked Khan as a light bulb shone over his head. Yes, it is indeed possible. But it shall depend upon the amount of world energy absorbed by such individuals. Said the system. I see. Let's hope I get to kill a fair share of semi-saint in the future. That seems like the fastest way. Spoke Khan with a sinister smile. In the blink of an eye. 10 more days passed, and finally, the day of the semi-final had arrived. 2 days prior, Khan had a meeting with Albestros and all of his subordinates. They devised a plan that came to his mind a few days ago and how best to implement it. And on the same day, his opponent he'd have to fight in the semifinals was also declared throughout the empire. A known and well-established semi-saint rank individual of the young generation in this competition. Not only was his opponent a fan favorite but extremely skilled at the same time. And he had no choice but to acknowledge the pure talent, raw strength, and impeccable mastery over the battle techniques of this opponent, whom he didn't hope to clash with this soon. But it looked like the world had different plans for him. Unlike Khan, the opponent had a big background, and as for the Emperor's chosen competition and the opponent's relationship, there was a legacy attached to their name, because the opponent was someone who Khan had seen fight and win in the quarterfinals right in front of his eyes. On the day of the match, Khan changed his appearance to an elf and traveled to the battle arena in the richest district of the whole empire. And after he reverted to his original appearance and finally entered the 3-kilometer-wide battle ring in the middle of the 25-floored and 7-kilometer circumference battle arena, he stood in front of his opponent, his eyes and mind focused because the opponent in front of him was a real deal. It was none other than the chosen representative of the demi-human faction and the son of the previous emperor's chosen champion, Victor Apopes. In front of the millions of audiences in this enormous battle arena, 2 young warriors stood against each other, while the entire empire looked forward towards their battle that would decide one of the finalists of this competition. On the scoreboard, the betting odds for this fight were also revealed. 90:10, Khan being on the unfavored side again. In front of Khan stood a half-breed demonkin warrior who a big and long scythe as his weapon and a greenish epic rank armor made to complement his physical strength and maneuverability while fighting. His eyes glowed red while the one long red horn on the right side of his forehead protruded outwards. He looked at Khan with carefree eyes and spoke. Oye, I don't want to waste time here. You know who is stronger amongst us. You reached till this stage because your opponent was a peak grandmaster. But your luck ends here. So forfeit the match and spare me the hassle. Spoke Victor in a calm yet overbearing voice. Ah, cliché dialogues. Thought Khan and replied in a stern tone. Hey, if you want a free victory, Shouldn't you put in some effort? Asked Khan and flooded his arms as he firmly looked in the eyes of the opponent. Gasp! Khan's endearing response made many people surprised. Because the opponent was a bona fide semi-saint and he was only a peak grandmaster in the public eye. Although his match with Veronica went well, many people still believed that he won by luck, and also his act of thrashing the young woman had left a bad impression on the audience throughout the whole empire. So him acting all confident in front of the mighty opponent seemed out of the blue. What? What did you say? Asked Victor as his tone suddenly turned hostile. Are you deaf or something? I said if you want a free victory, you should put in some effort for it. Spoke Khan as he tilted his head and gave a condescending look at the opponent. Oh, is that so? Then what do you want? Asked Victor as he clenched his hand on the scythe, his brows creased and an irritated expression appearing on the face. Beg for it, responded Khan with a benign smile as he fearlessly declared. Boom! A loud burst of dark red aura erupted on the left side of the battle ring as Victor released his strength of a semi-saint after Khan's proclamation. You! What did you say, you filthy insect? Shouted the Demonkin warrior. Get on your knees and beg for me to forfeit the match. I might even fulfill your wish if I find it sincere, replied Khan with a grin on his countenance. Stunned. Let it be the audience in the battle arena, people watching on the broadcasting screen, or the top saints of the empire who came to personally watch the match and support Victor since he was the chosen representative of the demi-human faction. Even the dozens of saints from enemy factions were also bewildered after his outrageous words. They already knew the results of the match, yet somehow Khan had the galls of refuting and even insulting Victor Apopes, the candidate who reached this round by defeating a semi-saint himself. Despite all that, Khan's words were too brazen and he publicly insulted the opponent. An opponent who came from the most prestigious background and was also the son of the previous champion. You! Looks, there are indeed people who don't know the immensity of heaven and earth. You're not even worthy of sharing the same battlegrounds with me, and yet you want me to kneel and beg in front of you? And that too when our whole empire is watching? Hey, don't tell me you have a death wish, asked Victor with an infuriated tone. The reason why he was holding back was because a semi-saint bullying a peak grandmaster in front of the whole empire would leave a bad impression. Plus, he was a renowned genius who had the best teachers and training from saints of his factions, and a seemingly weaker opponent was acting all high and mighty in front of him. Has that human gone crazy? What an idiot. Looks like he wants to get beaten up badly. He won't come out alive if he angers the Demonkin more. Killing is allowed in this round. Spoke thousands of the people amongst the audience as they chattered between themselves. All right, there will be indeed kneeling and begging on this battle ring. I'll make you eat your kneecaps and beg in front of me to spare your life, declared Victor as he finally lost his patience and decided to teach the human in front of him a lesson. No beating him to death now will tarnish his reputation in the future, as if he let Khan go without cutting off his arms and legs. Anyone would think that they could badmouth him and go unpunished. At this point, he wasn't just representing himself but all the noble factions and their members of the empire. All right then, let's see if you have the ability to do so, replied Khan and brandished Lucifer in his right hand. Boom! Just when everyone thought that Khan's life was gone for good after enraging the half-breed Demonkin and the entire upper class of the society. And sudden surprise that shook the whole empire in an instant was revealed. Khan's black and red aura also erupted out from his body and filled half of the 3-kilometer-wide battle ring. And as he tyrannical and ghastly aura was revealed to not only Victor but all the saints in VIP rooms. A vital information about Khan, the biggest dark horse of this competition, was finally revealed to the entire empire of 4 billion citizens. Semi-saint. Khan was now revealed to be a semi-saint. Everyone watching this match was rooted on the spot. Even the people from 7 Deadly Sins who were told to bet on Khan's win were shocked to the point they forgot how to breathe. Believe me, with war dominance activated, Khan's body was covered in a dense black and red aura. His tyrannical and deathly voice resounded in the whole battle arena as he targeted the opponent with his killing intent. You do not want this fight. Two tangible, dense, and chaotic auras clashing against each other filled the entire battlefield as the figures releasing it looked at each other with their battle instincts raised to the peak. After Khan's sudden revelation of being a semi-saint, all the citizens of the Empire watching this match were shaken to their cores. "How is that possible? Where does this boy come from?" spoke a third stage saint in one of the VIP rooms. "Impossible! How come there was another semi-saint in the competition and no one knew it yet?" exclaimed a saint from the neutral faction. "Which faction does he belong to? Who is his backer? Did he use a recommendation token?" asked an elven saint to his aides. Soon, millions and then billions of people started discussing this new information while the two combatants in the battle ring were only focused on each other. Although Victor was also taken aback at first, he quickly recovered his composure and put on a guard lest his opponent uses that opportunity and attack him when he was careless. "You! Which clan do you belong to?" asked Victor with a cautious tone. "Bah! Do you really want to waste time on chit-chat and my origin story? Or do you want to fight and see which one of us is stronger?" asked Khan with a smirk on his face. "Besides, my audience thinks the plot has been dragged down too long already, and they want to see a good fight," he said, and released war dominance at full power this time. Khan could already sense that Victor was at least 5 levels above him, so there was no need to hold back. The reason why he chose to reveal his rank as semi-saint now was because of 2 main reasons. 1, he couldn't defeat Victor with his restricted ranks and stats. And second, after Stranov's visit to his manor, Khan knew that he will be targeted by him and the Pureblood faction sooner or later. In order to prepare against whatever that was happening behind the scenes which he still didn't know anything about, Khan had to become the center of attention and have people keep talking about him. That way, no one would dare to cause him harm or try to oppress him when everyone was watching. "Fine then. Let's talk after I put you in the ground first. Don't expect me to show any mercy," said Victor with an expectant look as the warrior within him was yearning for a good fight. Soon, 50 scythes made from his red and highly compressed aura formed in the air above him. Each of these scythes were 5 meters long in height. Shrill. On the other end, Khan also used sword savant skill and created 50 greatswords made of black and red aura that were identical to Lucifer in appearance. The 5 meters long greatswords made from 5 different elements such as fire, ice, lightning, earth and wind hovered in the air. Stunned. Not only Victor but all the saints were stunned on the spot in their respective rooms on the highest floors of this battle arena. And the fact that his aura swords were made from 5 different elements at once already made him worthy of being called a prodigy born once in a century. Because swordsmen had the most difficulty when mastering different elements and forming aura blades. Although Khan was already known to be a magic swordsman in the eyes of the audience, he had revealed mastery over 5 different elements. Even Veronica Michelson, who was called the second most talented swordswoman of the younger generation in the whole empire, could use only 4 elements. This also displayed that Khan, one without any prestigious faction or clan's backing, was as talented and of the same caliber as Victor, who was trained by some of the best teachers in the empire. This display of skills was too shocking for everyone within the whole empire. "Who the hell is this guy? I want to know everything about him," commanded a 4th stage Lionkin saint from the demi-human faction. On the battlefield, Khan looked at his shocked opponent and his great swords pointed their tips towards the demonkin opponent. "Hey, don't doze off now. I don't have too many chapters to waste on you. So let's start," he said and charged towards the scythe user. "Chapters? What the hell is he talking about?" wondered Victor and quickly noticed the approaching enemy. Author: Victor Apopi's reference art in chapter comments. Check it out. Khan had activated all of his battle-related passive skills and soon, the entire battlefield was filled with loud clashing noises and explosions as the aura weapons created by both the combatants filled the battlefield. Boom! An ear-deafening noise sent shockwaves as both Victor and Khan, covered in their auras, finally clashed against each other in a head-on attack. The battleground made of hard stones already started cracking from the impact where both the participants engaged in their first clash. Sparks flew in between the sharp edges of their weapons as 2 5-feet-long weapons hit against each other. Shrill! Just then, one of Khan's aura swords attacked Victor from behind, while he himself had locked the enemy's movements. Boom! But before the sword could hit, it was attacked from the scythe on the left and deflected the sword in the stead of its owner. "Not bad. You have good control," said Khan as his figure disappeared from the place in an instant. Swoosh! Khan appeared 20 meters away from the opponent, and just then, more than 5 aura scythes hit the ground where he stood moments ago. Boom! Another loud explosion shook the battlefield as Khan barely escaped the onslaught from the massive scythes in the last moment thanks to survival instinct blessing. The swirling storm of aura scythes had completely surrounded Khan, and he realized that the opponent wasn't intending on test his limits and decided to fight him at their peak. However, as soon as the explosion waned, a sight that shook the whole empire appeared in the middle of the battlefield. But before they could even digest what just happened, another loud explosion happened on the swordsman's end. A massive explosion of heat filled the side as if a volcano had erupted. This heat was so intense that the stoned battleground itself started melting. Thud! Thud! A man donned in black and crimson armor that was literally on fire walked out of this explosion. His appearance looked even more demonic than the opponent who had chosen to finally use his bloodline as well. At this moment, Khan had finally summoned his armor for the first time in this competition. And now he was wearing the Dracos armor. 2 auras, one dark red while the other crimson red, filled the battlefield, as both the combatants decided to reveal their hidden cards after just a few minutes of fighting each other on equal footing. Victor already sensed Khan's strength after the small exchange of moves and the formation of aura swords that his own scythes faced. Unlike before, he was now extremely alert of the opponent because he felt an immense danger coming from him. Khan, on the other end, had sensed that his loss would be imminent if he faced this powered-up enemy who was using his bloodline skill. And hence, he quickly summoned his Dracos armor for the first time in the competition as well as activated the Draconian bloodline effect. He gazed at Victor's figure that had transformed into something else at this point. The old Victor from minutes ago was completely gone, and now in his place stood a 3-meter-tall red demon with 2 giant horns on his head and 2 coming out from the sides of his jaw. Victor's body had completely turned red, and his hands now had sharp black claws. The upper body that was once in the dark green armor was now completely exposed to the public, while his skull no longer looked humanoid but that of a monster. Ripped muscles and large arms came to be in everyone's sight as Victor finally revealed his true demon transformation. Author Victor Apopi's True Demon Form reference art in chapter comments. This was the highest degree of his capacity, which he hadn't even revealed in the quarterfinals against the Semi-Saint Ezekiel, the representative of the Pureblood faction. This showed how seriously he took Khan as his opponent. What is this? His devil trigger or something? Wondered Khan. On the other side, however, stood another demonic figure. Yet his aura was completely different from the former, as if it didn't belong to a human or a demon, rather a completely different species altogether. Khan finally used the Dracos armor, the one made by Albestros after he gave the old man the remaining body parts of the magma drake. And this was also the life-saving armor he used in the fight against Arkham and Solomon. But compared to the previous incident, this time the armor was much stronger and exuded more blistering heat and chaotic aura since Khan's rank and levels had risen. And the Dracos armor and Lucifer that shared the Draconian bloodline effect with him also grew in strength along with his own rank and levels thanks to Khan's own Draconian bloodline he absorbed from the Drake. Albestros had successfully completed the Bloodbind ritual which tied Khan's body with them. So now, not only Khan but even one of his biggest trump cards had leveled up a league above. Because of which the armor wasn't just leaking heat, but it was literally on fire just like the magma drake who also shared this effect. His dragon-like face and the 2 big horns on the helmet made him look like he had just risen from the pits of hell. Since he already had thermal body skill he absorbed from the drake, Khan wasn't affected in the slightest, but it had greatly alarmed the opponent. As for the people watching the match throughout the empire, they were gasping in surprise, because at this moment, they couldn't tell which among the 2 was a true demon. So that's the rumored best creation of the peak Grandmaster Blacksmith Albestros Winston? Where the hell did he even get so many body parts of a drake? and to make a complete armor set out of it. This shouldn't even be possible. Even the other two Grandmaster blacksmiths said that it will take them a great amount of time and resources just to forge it properly. Spoke a fourth stage saint from the Pureblood faction. Not just him, but the majority of the saints were gasping in surprise after looking at Khan's Dracos armor. Because an armor lighting up with fire while the owner remains completely unaffected was simply unheard of. And no one had seen the attack and defense buff effects of the entire set yet. If the rumors were true, the sword held by Khan was also made from the same material and with all of them being part of a set. What Khan wore in this fight was comparable to legendary battle gear worn by top figures of the past. This created a great sense of respect towards the old man Albestros in their mind. System, tell me the changes in the Dracos armor. What are its current stats and skills? Asked Khan. Draconian armor set skills. Drake armor, S rank. Upgradable. Physical defense while wearing this armor has risen by 120% and the agility has increased by 75%. Reformation, S rank. Upgradable. Using the host's mana and bloodline as a source, the armor will be able to repair itself over time once it has been broken. This bloodline effect will be active as long as the host is still alive. Draconian sword skill. Drake momentum, S rank. Upgradable. Strength while using this sword has increased by 90% and dexterity has increased by 86%. Note, the attack, defense, and agility armor effects will increase with the rank and levels of the host. Replied the system. Good. It's more than enough. Said Khan after noticing the rise in rank from A to S for both the bloodline buff skills for the armor and sword. Crack, crack, crack. Khan's steps cracked the platform as he approached the enemy with a menacing gaze. The blistering heat and the growling noise coming out of his armor sent chills to all the audience present in the battle arena. While chaotic and destructive aura from Victor in his true demon form raised the small pebbles from the cracked ground in the air. Two imposing and domineering demonic figures charged at each other with eyes full of killing intent. Dang! Dang! Khan ran with Lucifer in hand while Victor clenched both his hands over the scythe. Their aura weapons also pointed towards each other and prepared to attack along with their respective owners. Khan murmured to himself as he spoke with a light grin under the helmet. I'm about to end this man's whole career. In front of billions of people watching throughout the Empire, two monstrous figures, one of whom was 3 meters tall in height while the other one was of the normal 6 feet and 3 inches human size. Both the figures with 4 and 2 horns, respectively, were clashing in a death battle. Sparks flew on the battlefield as two sharp-edged weapons banged against each other while trying to tear through the opposition. Sizzle! Sizzle! The battleground sizzled from the intense heat released from Khan's Dracos armor, while it crackled from the other end as Victor, in his true demon form, had released an immensely chaotic demonic aura. You can't defeat me, growled Victor as his voice echoed after the demonic transformation. Is that so? Just minutes ago, didn't you say I'm not even worthy of standing in the same battle ring as you? Asked Khan in his mocking tone. Swoosh! Just then, a lightning sword broke through the aura scythes and broke the first wall of defense, as 4 more aura greatswords infiltrated inside the storm created by Victor. Bang! Multiple explosions happened around the 3-kilometer-wide battlefield when Khan and Victor's massive aura weapons clashed in the air, while their owners were attacking each other with multiple swings and slashes in a matter of seconds. To the majority of the audience, they could only see 2 red figures clashing against each other so fast that most of them only registered blurs and sparks. Clang! Khan threw Victor on back foot as he barraged the enemy with his 5-meter-tall aura greatswords and put the buffed-up opponent in a defensive stance. The reason why both of them often used these aura weapons was that if either of them landed their attacks, the damage done by the highly compressed aura and mana inside them was akin to boulder stomping on an ant. And hence, both of them were trying to land that one lucky hit and get an advantage in the fight. Despite Victor's true demon bloodline transformation, Khan with the attack, agility, and defense boost was evenly matched with the opponent thanks to the Dracos armor va Lucifer with the draconian bloodline effect. What kind of element is he using? Thought Khan during their fight. There were no elements infused in Victor's attacks, but the chaotic energy in them was evenly matched with Khan's elemental aura swords. To him, it was already comparable to his darkness element attacks and skills that had a lot of power and destructive force in them. However, Khan felt a sense of familiarity with this element as if he had seen or felt it before. Boom! A loud explosion shattered the ground as Khan dodged an aura scythe that tried to cut him in half. "So that's what it was!" exclaimed Khan in his mind as he remembered exactly when he had felt this type of element before. "It's the chaos element," he thought, because the last time he felt this element was when he upgraded Jugram, the Berserker subordinate to High Lord rank, by mixing him with the Demonkin semi-saint, Dormammu Volstov. Jugram had awakened a bloodline specialty after getting merged, and unlocked a unique rank monster variant species called Chaos Demon. And on the day of his evolution, he exuded the same aura that matched the one from the true demon opponent. Khan hadn't paid attention to it back then because he wasn't efficient in sensing minute details about elements or mana, since he wasn't even a beginner rank magician at that time. But now, he could tell the difference and feel how powerful his opponent was. If not for his armor, Khan would have already lost the match since he couldn't even activate the Hero of Darkness title during daytime, and using Berserk God mode in front of so many saints was an extremely bad idea. Because even the rare bloodline of the true demon only made Victor 3 times bigger and stronger, while Khan's Berserk God mode made him 5 times stronger for a short time, and that too without making any visible changes to his body. Apart from that, the Azura mode was also out of option since Khan was a pure human and not some half-breed or descendant of a rare bloodline either. So with limited options, the Dracos armor was his best choice. Crack! Crack! Victor launched dozens of sharp aura blades, and Khan used the flash steps techniques instead of using side hopper skill, as this was also the best method for increasing his mastery and proficiency in this skill. The curved aura blades made of chaos energy tore through the stone platform, and Khan kept using his new movement skill consistently to avoid them. If the platform made from stone wasn't able to endure the attacks, then his armor will be pushed back as well. Khan started running around the battlefield to avoid the slashing attacks from the enemy as he was looking for an opening. "System, how much?" he asked. "Current progress in flash steps technique is 58%. Replied the system. "Good. Inform me as soon as I complete the mastery to 100%. Then I'll settle this match." For the next half an hour, the battle continued as the two fierce warriors kept attacking, dodging against each other. Both of them were equally matched in terms of strength and mastery over their respective battle styles. The battleground kept getting destroyed here and there as the ground shattered after loud explosions and burn aura blades from both evenly matched combatants. However, in the meantime, Khan became extremely agile and almost impossible to touch in the eyes of the audience, as if he was possessed by a ghost. His figure kept flickering from time to time whenever Victor almost managed to hit him, but the swordsman always came out unscathed. Unlike the true demon, who had the advantage's raw brute strength, the opponent wearing the Drake armor was as fast as a bullet. But even now, none of the two were fatigued or lost their strength. The audience was in complete disbelief given how Khan was controlling the flow of the battle like a seasoned warrior who was unknown to them as a semi-saint swordsman till this match. Flash Step Skill Progress 100%. The skill is now available for merging with the side hopper skills. Informed the system. Later. First, activate them all, commanded Khan as he gave a hidden command that only he and the system understood. Swoosh! The next moment, he appeared 500 meters away from Victor. "Hey Victor, as much as I would love to keep sparring with you, I think it's about time we ended this," spoke Khan in a grim tone and let out a burst of fire that lit up his side of the battlefield. The 3-kilometer-wide battlefield was already big enough to hold 1,000 people fighting at once, but after Khan's Dracos armor released this massive explosion of energy, everyone among the audience became certain that they'd be incinerated on the spot if they were present near Khan. Clatter, clatter, clatter. Khan suddenly let go of Lucifer and the great sword levitated high in the air. Soon, all the aura swords made with different elements flew back to his side, and one by one, the 50 aura greatswords started merging in the air. Finally, all the efforts of past months' training are proving useful, thought Khan as he, along with all the audience throughout the empire, watched a miracle happening in front of them. The 50 great swords, each one of which was 5 meters long in height, coalesced together around Lucifer, and just in a dozen seconds, a 250-meter-long greatsword came into existence. "Impossible! It cannot be!" exclaimed a third-stage snakekin saint in a VIP room. "Nonsense! He's just a semi-saint. And he's not even a mage or a summoner," shouted a fifth-stage demonkin mage from the neutral faction. At this moment, there were 3 godly figures sitting at opposite ends of the battlefield and watching this match calmly. But now, even they also had a surprised expression on the faces. An old elf with a hunched back, a white-bearded tigerkin, and a silver-haired vampire gazed at Khan, who was forming his attack skill. I've really underestimated this human," spoke the old vampire in his deep and hoarse voice. All of them had a baffled as well as a very curious expression on their faces. The aura of the greatsword was so strong that even all the saints watching it were extremely surprised. At this moment, Khan was finally using the skill he created by practicing over a month since the competition started. He wasn't sitting ducks like an ignorant fool when all the other semi-saints were receiving their training from the saints of their respective clans and factions. Khan, who had no teacher, was creating something of his own on a daily basis. He was attempting to create a new technique after breaking through intermediate rank mage and merging these different elements to create an attack skill after his understanding of magic and mana itself rose to a different level. "Sorry, but don't expect me to show any mercy," spoke Khan in a tyrannical voice that sent shivers in Victor's body. "Hey! Somebody wake me up. This isn't real. This can't be real," spoke Victor in a jittery voice and shuddered in fear as he felt an inevitable sense of death. The true demon opponent was rooted on the spot as he saw this gigantic greatsword that was made from blistering heat at the center, while lightning and compressed wind blades crackled around the edges. The highly compressed water blades swirled around this enormous sword, and the earth element acted as its solid body. Khan, on the other end, moved his right hand towards the air and made a grabbing gesture towards the towering greatsword. As if he grabbed it in hand, Khan made a vertical slashing move and shouted so loudly that every single person inside the battle arena heard his domineering voice. "Dragon Strike!" Khan finally used the first-ever skill that he cultivated himself after an entire month's effort and hard training. His fruits of labor finally had a proper moment to be used. Ever since he started training in magic, his priorities were always about building a solid foundation, and hence, Khan had extensively studied and mastered different elements to a degree that, compared to other mages, the spells and skills cast by him were already 3 times more effective than others of his rank. Although he wasn't close to someone like Ezekiel, the semi-saint mage of the Pureblood faction, he wasn't far off in potential, since the latter was a semi-saint while he was only an intermediate rank magician. But throughout the past 1 month, he was trying to mix different elements by using the elemental fusion and elemental transformation skill he got after eating Solomon's core. These 2 elven species' innate skills allowed him to operate as well as restructure mana and form a synergy between these different elements. And that was why, apart from the holy magic or light element, Khan had very good control over other elements of nature. Because of this, his rigorous training and experiments in infusing these different elemental swords that counteracted each other most of the time finally balanced themselves to form this gigantic greatsword. And now, it became Khan's ultimate swordsmanship attack skill, as he could also add darkness element to strengthen it even more. "Damn!" cursed Victor, and put all of his aura scythes and activated all of his defensive skills to save himself from this godly sword. As soon as Khan loudly shouted the attack skill name and made the swinging movement from where he was standing, the ginormous sword that reached close to the top floors of the arena attacked the opponent. Boom! Crack! 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 4 layers of giant defensive shields and aura scythes tried to protect Victor, but in front of this force of pure destruction, all of them cracked like an eggshell instantly. The battleground shattered and hundreds of long and deep crevices formed in the 3-kilometer-wide battle ring. The impact from the Dragon Strike skill sent tremors in the ground, and the entire battle arena shook as if there was an earthquake. Millions of people among the crowd were scared witless, as most of them thought that soon everything will collapse and that'd be their last day of life. Congratulations to the host for successfully executing the Dragon Strike skill. The skill has been registered. Would the host like to know the detailed information? Asked the system, as it was the first time Khan successfully created a skill without any form of assistance. Khan already knew that he couldn't always rely on the system, and in the future, he had to create skills by himself, so this was just a first step for him. Not now. Spoke Khan, and used his hunter intent to locate Victor amidst the large cloud that formed after the explosion from his dragon strike. After 2 minutes, the dust cloud finally settled, and a red demonic creature with bloodied and wounded body was finally revealed to the whole empire through broadcasting screens. Victor, the fan favorite and the most bet person on, was now lying in the ground, barely breathing. Even after using all of his life-saving skills, he barely managed to hold onto his life and not die on the spot. Thud! Thud! Khan's heavy footsteps echoed through the battle arena as he walked among the debris of the now shattered battle ring. Soon, he reached close to the opponent, who was barely conscious, and gave him a contemptuous look through his fiery helmet. If Victor looked like a demon, then Khan in Dracos armor looked like the boss of that demon. "I cannot lose. Not to you, not to anyone," spoke Victor as he groaned in pain. He tried to muster every bit of strength in the body, but apart from his mouth, he couldn't move a muscle. Step. Khan stepped on the bloodied and profusely bleeding chest of the 3-meter-tall true demon in front of the whole crowd and whispered something that only they could hear. "Know that you're still alive only because I want to avoid the unnecessary troubles and consequences of killing you. So swallow down your defeat like a warrior and move on. The whole empire is watching, so at least lose gracefully," spoke Khan as he summoned Lucifer back in his right hand and released the blistering heat from his body again. Shrink. Shrink. At this moment, Victor's body shrunk back to its original size as he panted heavily and tried not to faint. Silence. Complete silence. Not just the crowd in the arena, but all the people throughout the empire were stunned on the spot. The young swordsman, whom they hadn't even heard of before this competition, had successfully defeated one of the most favored candidates who came from one of the highly prestigious clans and background in the empire. To normal people, he was only a swordsman, but to the saints of the empire, they saw his true potential as someone who even surpassed the other magic swordsmen of their generation in terms of potential. Because currently, there were only 4 swordsmen in the whole empire who had mastered 5 different elements and could use them in their swordsmanship attack skills. And 2 of those names included Stranoff Michelson, the commander of the Michelson clan from the neutral faction, while the other one was the clan leader of the reputed Vandereyck clan from the Pureblood faction, Ismatrizel Mor Vandereyck, the number 1 and number 3 strongest swordsmen of the Rakos Empire. In their eyes, the Dragon Strike skill used by Khan was comparable to a first-stage saint, even though it's half in size, strength, and without world energy, especially to Stranoff and Ismatrizel, both of whom are actually watching the match. This kid, he doesn't know how to hold back at all. Revealing his rank and that armor set was acceptable, but this skill is just too flashy. Now things will get more complicated if I try to recruit him, spoke Ismatrizel to himself. In the now destroyed battlefield, Khan looked down upon the barely conscious opponent as he put the burning Lucifer on his shoulder. His figure appeared like a legendary warrior as he spoke in a domineering voice. "My power shall be absolute.